Right, hello, long overdue. We're going to listen to the third episode of the Knytt Symposium podcast, which features Talps. And in that honor, I'm going to play Petals II, but I am going to play it randomized with the new crazy randomizer. And I'm just going to say from the start that it's going to be probably very challenging at points because Petals II is a very specific type of level. I might need to reroll. I might even need to cheat past places. And I say that now because I don't want to interrupt the listening experience to say that, oh, I'm going to have to do something like that. So yeah, Petals II randomized while we listen to the Knytt Symposium. So if it sounds bad, it's going to be great. But do let me know if the audio levels could be improved somehow. And with that said, let's go. I'm very interested to hear this, not only because it's Talps, but also because it's the first real episode, I feel like, because it's a podcast by Lucinda and Marcel. And the first episode, Lucinda interviewed Marcel, and then the second episode, the other way around. So now they actually have a guest. So let's see and listen and enjoy.
Welcome to Knytt Symposium Ep.3. We have Talps here today.
Hi.
I'm pleased to
hear
announce
Talps' voice.
Yeah, big name launching our guest series.
Yes.
I hope you're all excited and wowed.
I am.
I am.
Wow, I feel a bit flattered.
He's so British.
Yeah. Go for it, People love your stuff. That much is true.
Well, it's been a fun hobby for the last. I don't want to think about how many years I've been doing it, but yeah, it's just been a great way of being creative, a great way of exploring stories and telling stories in different ways to just writing them. Or I'm really, honestly quite grateful to Niflas for giving us this.
Yeah, shout outs.
Yeah, even though he abandoned us, or many of you after a year or so.
But he gave us what we needed, so we can't hate him.
The community has pressed on.
Yeah.
I kind of feel that makes sense. Like he made the game Knytt. It was really popular, so he made the ability for other people to continue making, the same.
Was
game.
Knytt really popular?
Yeah,
He outsourced it to the fans.
Yeah.
Wow, that's like genius and lazy at the same time.
Yeah.
I'll just have other people make Knytt games for me, and I'll go make Night Sky and Inglet.
No one talks about Inglet. Shoutouts.
Let's see. Marcel, you have the floor. You ask the first question.
Yes, the first question, possibly the simplest one, but I found it kind of difficult to answer myself. But, Talps, who are you in the Niflas Games community?
Wow. So I started making levels probably about 15 years ago, which, like I say, is a terrifyingly long period of time.
It's weird to hear a Knytt person speaking without like broken English accent. You know what I mean? Is that a fair thing to say? I think it's not like you sound overly posh or anything. It's just normal dude. Like wow.
I kind of feel like
how am I so alive? What the? Oh no.
Welcome to Knytt Symposium Ep.3.
Gotta make sure not to try to play when this is in focus.
Because that's always been important to me.
Let's see, something like this maybe.
Let's see. Marcel,
right.
you have the floor. You ask the first question.
Yes, the first question, possibly the simplest one, but I found it kind of difficult to answer.
Okay, I'm not gonna go for collectibles.
But, Talps, who are you in the Niflas Games community?
Wow. So I started making levels probably about 15 years ago, which, like I say, is a terrifyingly long period of time. I kind of feel like I was past the point of the first wave of creators, but maybe in the next kind of section. So a lot of the original creators disappeared, but a new kind of generation.
Racism
was a great part of that. Most of my levels I've tried to write good stories for, because that's always been important to me. Like using Knytt stories as a means of telling stories. I've really always liked telling stories. When I was about 10 years old, I started writing my first bits of fan fiction, which were terrible because I was 10.
Oh yeah, this happens a lot with layers
What fandoms were you writing for?
and filters.
There is a video game series that is a little bit obscure called Oddworld, which had Abe's Odyssey and
Abe's
were the
Odyssey,
first two
yeah,
games,
I've heard a lot about that.
which were these kind of 2D platformer adventure games set on an alien world where you were
So what I've heard about Oddworld is that it has like great gameplay, no, great vibes and story perhaps, but pretty lackluster gameplay.
this alien creature who was saving slaves like yourself from kind of dystopian facilities
Wait,
where they were being
that's cute.
tortured or killed, and kind of reintroducing them to this kind of native way of living. And yeah, my sisters brought home a demo of Abe's Exodus when I was a kid.
your
Got myself a
sisters.
full version of the game and just fell in love with them.
And
And yeah,
then
that was a
came
world that I... Sorry.
And then came the fan fiction.
Yeah, that was the first thing I wrote fan fiction for. In fact, the origin of my name, Splat, was the name of the name of the main character in the first story I wrote for Oddworld. And then eventually, so when I joined an Oddworld fan site, I used the username Splat, and when I realized how common that username was everywhere, I turned the letters backwards.
Interesting.
Oh yeah.
Well, that's
Did you
quite
feel like a
original.
genius for reversing it.
It worked a lot. You know, I got Talps on a few bigger websites for a while.
I can imagine.
But yeah, so yeah, Knytt Stories then was my way of telling stories and sharing them.
But how did you find it? Sorry, you didn't say that, did you?
I was an active part of the community for quite a long time. I don't think I'm the best at making tile sets. I just kind of make them for my own purpose and feel happy with what I've made. But
This is where I came from,
I've
isn't
never
it?
been a major share of my custom content. As kind of the community has moved away from the forum and more into Discord, I feel like I've drifted away a bit. It just doesn't connect to me quite so well. I don't know. I liked having the kind of everything laid out on the forums. I've not been quite so involved, but I am kind of lurking now and occasionally tinkering with stuff.
Cause you there's no corrupt
shit.
a wish on Discord, so it's like not not
Yeah,
really.
it feels like maybe that's one of the few things keeping the forum going, to be honest. Just the forum games threads, just like a lot of new levels don't get posted there. A lot of the the discussion doesn't take place there anymore, which to me is a shame. But I get that people moved on and found different ways of doing what they're doing.
Yeah, that makes me want to participate in Corrupt a Wish.
Yeah, it makes you think because there's no such things in Discord happening in Discord, I guess.
Yeah, that's the thing about Discord is that it's you have one discussion where everything happens, whereas the forum's more segmented, so you can have different conversations
me.
and keep them separate.
And Discord has channels, but I feel like since you're seeing everything come through at the same time, like the conversation tends to cluster in one channel at a time.
Yeah.
So let's see. One of our questions was about Splat, so you answered that.
Yeah, that came up more quickly than I thought it would.
Yeah, really getting right in there with the Splat, and your icon is extremely distinctive. Could you please elaborate on that?
I guess. A long time ago, I discovered a game which I think was a Flash game.
I am curious about
and
this.
I cannot remember what it was called for the life of me, but it was an online multiplayer game. Which I don't know if you ever played any of the Worms games, like Worms Armageddon.
No.
It was a little bit like that. They're kind of battle games, and where you controlled one character, and basically your objective was to fight out the other characters. And like I say, I can't remember the name of this game, so I can't really tell you what it looked like or what it. It's probably lost to time now anyway. But it basically let you design your own character, and the character that I now use as my avatar was based on the character I created using their custom. Change the shape of the head, change the shape of the body.
Okay.
Builder.
That's fair.
You're very like inspired by these fandoms.
I guess so.
That wasn't the question. I was like,
I don't know why. Like, I
statement.
really enjoyed that game. It was very.
I didn't skip
very
anything.
minor, so it's like I'm sure there were only a few, a small number of people who played it more than a few hours.
I'm gonna cheat a
I don't
save
know why
right
that
here.
one meant so much to me. Why I decided to keep that to kind of take my icon from there and base my image on it. I wanted something it was. I guess it was just what I was doing at the time when I was thinking I'm wanting to create an icon to represent me online. And that happened to be what I was playing a lot of at the time. This, very short game with these 5-minute battles.
I never had an avatar for myself.
kind of
I just
played
stole
through
the
its
toast.
And yeah, like I say, I can't remember why this in particular became the image I used for myself. It was quite a while ago. But yeah, I wanted something distinctive. I wanted something that could represent me physically, and having started to use it in the art I was doing on another website, I went straight through to everything.
And why is it juxtaposed on the globe?
Basically, I was looking for a background. My original attempt, I remember I took a screenshot of some fireworks from a photo, and realised that the file size for that was way too big for like forum avatars at the time. So yeah, I can remember distinctly sitting. I can't have been in school, but I must have been school age. Like getting a picture of the world and shrinking it down and tracing over it and sticking my character on it. Can't remember why I chose it.
Legend was born.
Okay. Well,
it has had me like accused of being an alien invader of the Earth and stuff. But
that didn't occur to me. It looks very mighty, like it's just overpowerful, all powerful.
I don't remember the globe, so I'm not sure what you're talking about. But
let's see. I did want to ask you about like if you write fiction outside of Knytt stories or anything, but like I don't know. Let's say I'm gonna write that down for later. Okay.
But I think it's good to ask the question now.
Okay. This question is being asked. Do you write fiction or nonfiction?
I like the
in
lore
other
of the question.
areas of your creative life?
I don't as much as I used to. I carried on writing fan fiction for quite a long time. I wrote Pokemon fan fiction and I can't remember what else. Quite a lot.
Where am I supposed to go?
Where I saved, on my computer where I saved everything. Do I want to go delving into stuff I wrote over the last 10 years today? That's the question. Yeah, I wrote a little bit of Doctor Who fan fiction. I tried to write a kind of Metroid parody, Sonic the Hedgehog stuff.
Wow. I've never written anything.
And yeah, I don't write as much as I used to. Though at the moment I've been DMing a D&D campaign for my friends for about 2 years.
Cool.
And so a lot of writing is going into that. I think a lot of my creativity is going into that at the moment. So that is an original. I have written one complete novella, which is based on the script I made for the remake.
That reaction.
Cool.
Yes.
So I haven't published that, but I do have it completed.
So there's a novel version of this level.
Pretty much, yeah.
Novella.
So when I was looking to remake Eurydice, I didn't just want to.
Whoa, the pronunciation,
Fix
Eurydice.
some things. I wanted to rewrite it entirely, remake it from the ground up, and I wanted to look at the way the story was structured.
Oh, that is an opening. Where are you
I remember
supposed to
watching
go?
some Let's Plays of it and seeing people really upset over having to give up the umbrella upgrade quite early in the game. And I thought, what if I can really use that where it does become quite a painful moment where you have to give up an upgrade and kind of diminish your ability to get through the level and the world. And so I wanted to kind of build on
I'm
things
supposed
like
to
that.
go right.
And so I wrote more of a story with some more characters and some more interactions.
I thought these were supposed to block me, the ghost blocks, but they're supposed to be used as a platform. My bad. And yeah, I'm hearing all these thoughts and details that go into levels that like I never would have thought about. I wouldn't notice like sadness over losing Umbrella. Maybe I did. I don't think so.
And then when I kind of lost motivation for making it on Knytt Stories, I then wondered if I could adapt it into a novel or a novella. And yeah, I wrote that. I finished it during the pandemic, I think. So far, one person has read it, and he told me he wasn't the kind of thing he'd normally read, so he didn't really get much feedback from it.
Is it
Novella reading stream.
Knytt Stories forum member who read it, or
What are
was
these?
it?
I know someone I know out in the world.
Oh, okay. Yeah, maybe if you'd like, you could share the excerpt of the emotional moment where the umbrella must be given to the
Yeah, that would be
ghosts
cool.
in the mines. But it's up to you.
Oh, do I want to read that out loud?
Do it.
So I like I say, I changed it quite a lot, particularly for the story. So in the story version, she is
This water.
there's a kind of wolf monster, like a shadow wolf that
I don't know if I can make
guides her, but is very kind of threatening and aggressive towards her all the way through, and it keeps asking her for things to
Well, we won.
as payment for it helping her, and each time its price increases, and each time she kind of avoids paying it quite what it's asking for because its demands are so high. And so this is the scene that's based on the umbrella scene. A month passed. She became skillful at picking her way along in the dark, but her nocturnal life left her constantly tired. She missed the warmth of the sun on her as she walked. The summer began to fade. The late hours of the night brought an icy bite to the air. She and her guide had left human roads behind, and once more were now walked in the trackless hills and deep forests. Since leaving the farm, they had spoken hardly at all. Then, in the cold, late watches of the night, on one of the last days of summer, the wolf suddenly announced, "Still not enough." The meaning of his words sank in slowly, but then her heart felt faint. "The lamb. I spent all I had on it," she protested, "and wasted months when we could have been travelling. I have nothing else." "You did not spend all that you have, morsel," he growled, his eyes hard like stones. "The man would have given you more if only you had offered more." She froze, and it was a while before she could speak again. "I have nothing more to give you now." "Oh, you have so much to give," he laughed his voiceless laugh. "Your youth, your prettiness, what are they worth, little lamb?" No, what cruelty was he devising now? Was he speaking of delaying her for years? "I cannot give you those, I cannot. They're not mine to give. You could not take them." He snarled. "No. All right then, clever one. This is what I will have of you. Your left hand. Will you give me your left hand in return for my service?" Her breath caught in her throat. Her skin went cold. Her insides boiled. Her sight and hearing filled with noise. She was going to vomit. She was going to faint. "No," she cried. "No." His muzzle stretched into a gleeful snarl. All his black teeth came into view and the dark red of his throat shone. Then her voice, her traitor voice, rose up and she shrieked, "My left is my clever hand, but you can take the right."
That was beautiful.
Thank you.
I mean, that was proper writing.
It's
you know?
dark.
So much
And thank you so much
symbolism
for
in the
sharing that with
umbrella.
us. This is this is truly insider info.
Yeah. Maybe one day I'll look at getting that published. It'd be really cool to have it in print.
It was very nice, very theatrical, I thought. It's good to put things like that in the open. Maybe you can get some more feedback this way.
Yeah, and it's a really different experience writing, for a novel than for writing for Knytt stories, because everything in the game is so compressed. That conversation in the game would have taken place over like 3 or 4 dialogue boxes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
More.
I
Way
think
the
more.
when
novel
people
I've been-
see, yeah,
Sorry.
when they see so much text in KS, not everyone's willing to read all that. I mean,
And
I
even
am.
if you are, I think it's easy to kind of zone out. There's loads of
Well,
dialogue in
yes,
the
there you go.
chip hooray fun time, and I think it kind of loses impact a bit just from a large amount.
Because when people are in like the
Sweat.
gaming zone, they're not in a read long text zone.
Yes.
I think
Thank
if you're reading
you.
a book, you're in that
Right.
vibe. You're
Know your
processing
audience.
everything more slowly and thoughtfully.
Yeah,
And also,
those
if you're
are
reading a
different
book,
zones.
when you're reading a book, you can kind of go back and read the last few lines, or just kind of catch yourself up in your head with what's going on if you need to. Whereas in a game, you click the next button and it's gone, and you can't go back.
Well,
So if you do
yeah.
kind of drift off a little
Depends.
bit, you can't go back and double check what you've missed.
Yeah. Yes. Marcel, were you saying something?
No, nothing important. I mean, unless you're playing a visual novel, if you
That's
count
true.
that as a game. But
Yeah.
that's a bit of a stretch.
All right. Well, next question. How and when did you find out about Knytt stories?
Yes, it's a good question.
So it's going back to when I was a teenager. I think someone at school introduced me to a blog called Jay's Games, which did reviews of, I think it was mostly free online
You're good
games,
listening,
mostly flash games. And they posted several a week. And I think one day I was checking that quite regularly, playing games, the games they suggested every week. I was playing some of their new games that they found. And I think I was looking through their archives one day and found Knytt. And I didn't normally download the games that I found on this site. I'd only play online ones, but Knytt looked really good, and I think their review is probably quite glowing. So I downloaded it, gave it a go. really
Recommended
enjoyed it,
from
really-
some
I
site,
mean,
huh?
I'm sure if you play Knytt, you know how absorbing that world is and how exciting it is to explore. And it's
You
an
have to
amazing
go
piece of
down.
world building that's so light touch. You get such a great sense of life going on in this tiny little world without any dialogue and any Like, there's no communication. Not even the alien and then the Knytt can communicate. They're just both stuck in the situation together and helping each other out.
Yes, an excellent game with no dialogue.
But
Who
yeah,
could have
once I
thunk?
played Knytt, I then went looking for what else Niflas had done. Found Knytt Stories, I think, is the very second thing I found and played, and yeah, that was how I found it.
Cool.
Great.
Not super unusual, but
I think
cool to know.
maybe your story is a little bit different than people in that it sort of started with real life in a way. I think most people find it deep into the internet
Yeah.
with no life contact.
Was that from the
I mean,
podcast?
I found it by
Or am I on
myself.
Discord?
No one ever said, Sam, there's this great game you should play.
True.
It just came through my own route. But yeah, it was started from this guy at school introducing me to this blog and then exploring that.
Oh,
for a
blog
long
it
time.
was.
Well, great. Marcel, you have the floor.
Yes, I'd like to ask if you designed levels or dabbled in game making before KS.
Going back to what I was saying earlier, that I started making up stories when I was about 10. When I was quite young, I also can remember playing, like, making up video games in my head, or levels for games, and
Okay, I think we're done with this
probably
first
around the same
area.
age,
No,
or
never mind.
maybe a bit younger, I started designing Sonic the Hedgehog levels with a pencil and paper.
I did
At one
pencil
point,
and
I had,
paper
like,
levels
a big
too.
folder full of these Sonic the Hedgehog levels that I created, just enjoying myself and playing around. Never made any of that digitally, but yeah, had a lot of fun designing. And then
Real
later
name
on,
drop?
another demo my sisters brought home.
Sorry, wait.
Was-
What? Did I miss a name drop? I guess I did. I don't really love those, so I guess I'm fine.
For a very obscure game called Speedy Bloopy 2, which I think in the US was called Speedy Eggbert 2. And that was
I'll go
a
back
pretty
later
simple
and
puzzle platform
listen,
game,
I guess.
but it came with a level design tool, which was really simple to use and really basic.
I don't care about the
But it
real
just,
you.
I had so much
I
fun
only
making
care
it,
about Talps.
all of which are now lost to time because there was no kind of, apart from going in and digging out the saves, there was no way of transferring them, so they died with an old computer. But yeah, the game had no kind of dialogue and no way of writing text or anything, and no NPCs, but it was just like this, explore and puzzle and get past the obstacles. But I had lots of fun kind of inventing stories in it. So I can't remember all the context of these, but I remember I had made one level set on a giant cargo ship, and another where you had to swim around exploring a giant fish tank. Another where you were just kind of walking along in the rain and you hid in the cave to avoid the rain, and then you were stuck in the cave and had to find a huge, long, complicated way out. And yeah, just kind of letting my imagination play and creating more in my imagination than the game let me. But yeah, I think that was the first thing that I used to actually make games, and went pretty much from there to Knytt Stories a long time later.
Okay, that's very interesting, and that's
I can never see the ghost.
about what you'd expect from people who are so passionate about level making for so long.
Well, it's funny because it reminds me that I did a lot of that kind of pen and paper level making. I would make like racetracks, at school, and then the guy sitting next to me would play, and you like drew with your pencil on the racetrack. And I did like shooting levels, which I have no idea how they worked. You needed a kid's imagination. But I did make a lot of pen and paper levels. It's a backtrack up there. It is more down left, isn't it?
Now, we'd like to get into
But why is this block here?
some of your levels.
Oh, it's right here. Wait, no, this is supposed to be blocked
First,
off.
I'd like to know if the coming of the dark was this your first
No, it wasn't.
ever time designing a level in KS, or did you play around
No.
with it?
Yeah, I don't really care about
If you look
secret.
at the first screen of The Coming of the Dark and compare it to the
Oh, I go up
default
here.
screen that appears when you start creating a new level in the editor, you will see it's pretty much the same. The
Wait,
Coming of the Dark was literally the
So long. Now, we'd like to get into some of your levels. But first, I'd like to know if the coming of the dark was Was this your first ever time designing a level in KS, or did you play around
No,
with it before?
If you look at the first screen of The Coming of the Dark and compare it to the default screen that appears when you start creating a new level in the editor, you will see it's pretty much the same. The Coming of the Dark was literally the first thing I ever made in KS.
So it
when I was just
was.
experimenting around with the editor. For those
That's
first kind
amazing.
of dozen screens where you're bouncing on the top of those pillars, collecting the jump
I
upgrades.
would not have noticed.
Oh my god,
that,
I'm
you know-
looking at it. I'm looking at it right now.
I never paid
It's-
attention to that.
Yeah, me neither.
It literally is, isn't it?
It's like it's the screen that appears when you first create a level, but like with
Yeah.
some stuff added to it.
It actually looks good.
When I started playing KS, I looked at the editor quite early and
Oh,
thought, no way, this is way too complicated for me. I can't get my head around this. I'm not even going to
Wait,
bother
maybe I
trying. And
can-
I gave up, and I never would have tried again. Except that I don't know, a few weeks, months later, I had a dream about a KS level that I wanted to make, and I can remember two
block.
things from this dream. One was running over like the rooftops of a snowy village, and the other was traveling through some kind of machine, exploring different worlds. And that second part of the different worlds inside the machine is The Coming of the Dark, is what came out of that. But I only ever came back to the editor because of that dream I had. And that made me think,
Wow.
actually, you know, I do really want to learn this and get into it and find out how it works. And I found
Thank God for that dream.
Sam Jai's guide to using the editor, which is possibly the most valuable resource ever made for a KS.
Yes.
I've not seen that guide.
After the game itself.
Yeah, you thanked him in the ending.
And yeah, Coming in the Dark, those first few screens were me learning to use the editor and experimenting and making this awful little beginning into a
Impossible.
massive grain.
Yeah, and it seems that the default screen has informed the design of the first starting area, because there are more screens with the same tileset than
Come on.
Yeah, and the same gradient.
platforms.
And then
Come
those
on.
pipes, which I think is the tileset used
What's
in the
killing
default,
me?
became the
I get so
Yes.
close.
the foundation of the level and
Let me undo
the
this.
beast that you have to turn off. Yeah, my first KS level was about turning off a machine. I wonder where that idea came from.
Everyone needs a level like that.
So I think a lot of people would say that The Coming of the Dark is a quite difficult level, and I think this is something we share. We both made our first levels too difficult for an average player, I think. And seems like-
Marcelo,
That's elegant. Yes.
Marcelo, are you referring to Tower of Lightning?
yes,
Okay.
That's his first. That's a crazy
because
level to have your
it seems
first.
to be the trap that some beginner designers fall into. When you design the level for yourself and you test it yourself, you don't notice that it's quite difficult, especially if you're creative and you can design all those interesting, unique traps and danger zones.
Danger
that
zone.
You just don't realize how difficult it can be to players.
I think it maybe not so much you don't realize how difficult it is, as you don't realize how much that matters. The Coming in the Dark was the very first thing. It wasn't the very first computer game level I'd made because of Speedy Bloopy, but it was the first thing I'd shared. And I think very quickly, seeing the very first few bits of feedback I got for it, when everyone was saying it's too hard, I can't find where I'm going, I'm lost, I'm confused. How big is this level? I can't seem to get past the first mountain.
Oh, we got a
I
bonus
very
yellow.
quickly
key.
realised kind of the lessons that have become the backbone of my design since. So, I'd say first of all, you have to remember at all times the player doesn't know the same thing that you as
That's
the creator.
firing.
They don't necessarily know that when the plot's going to change, or when things are going to turn over, or when the kind of the pacing of the level is going to change, and they don't know which way they're supposed to be going or what their objective is necessarily unless you've made it really clear.
Yeah, I think it's easy to get lost in The Coming of the Dark.
Yeah.
When I first played it, I got
It's
lost.
true.
I never
It's
finished
still a
it.
good level.
I think there
I
are a
know
lot of people in
Talps-
those early days who couldn't even get past that first kind of mountain on the water.
Talps is very harsh on himself for that
They
level.
never even
It's
found their
good.
way down into the machine. Because there's no kind of direction at all. You're told you've got to turn this machine off, but you're not told where it is. or why you're going to this mountain or what your objective is there. You're not told that once you found the eye, you've got to go back to where you were to progress with it. And yeah, I think the other thing is remembering that I learned from it very quickly was that you're not in competition with your players. It's an easy mindset to get into where you kind of have to, you feel like you're fighting them or you feel like you're setting traps for them, and that's
I
not
can
a
see
good place to
that.
be.
Yeah, like you don't want them to
Game
think
design
it's
should
too
be
easy. Like.
almost should be a collaborative effort between the designer and the player. You're there trying to think.
That
You
sounds
shouldn't be
like an
thinking,
important
how can
lesson.
I hamper them, but how can I help them?
I know I don't hate
Because ultimately,
it.
what I'm trying to do is give someone else a
Perfectly
good time.
fine.
I'm trying to make a level that someone else will enjoy playing and a way of spending their time in an enjoyable way.
Don't
And
try
that should
what
be,
that does
the
going
focus,
here.
not how can I stop them, but how can I make this fun for them.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. So I think those two things in particular were what I was missing in Coming in the Dark. And as soon as I started getting feedback, I started kind of realizing these things in my head, and yeah, kind of realizing them throughout Eurydice as well as I was designing that one.
I'm looking at the editor right now, and I'm taking a look at the mines area, and I was always impressed. I think it's very well designed how you obtain the eye, and then you have to backtrack through it. It's very well designed, I would say. I'm just looking at you get the eye from the hand of the Orthofactor statue. I think it's an iconic placement for items, especially the eye. And I remember that I have the same eye placement on the statue in the level exploring a cave I've made with straight plane. So yeah, people like to put stuff in his hands.
At the tile set, I can't help but think it was designed
I can't see. Let's just skip this.
When Simon Johnson made the tile set.
Even the color.
Because it's just like the perfect shape. There's this kind of glow effect on the hand.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it just seems to be what it was made for.
Yeah, but as I mentioned, for our first ever released level, this area here might be my favorite.
Oh, thanks.
Oh, very well designed.
I know. I mean, I am quite even though I kind of don't talk about the level very much. It's not that I hate it. I just don't think it's very good.
There's the quote.
But yeah, I am so amazed by what I did with the eye there, and how that you re-explore that area. That you go for the mountain and explore it, and eventually find the eye, and then you explore it again, and every route is different, and every path is different, and the whole thing.
I think I sort of remember that.
In a completely different order and in a completely different way.
I'm not sure if I was a big fan of it.
I almost don't know how I did that, especially starting out so early. I don't know where the idea came from, or how I executed it so well. Apart from how horribly evil and mean that whole level is.
That's insanely genius.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, not to call myself an insane genius. I think making it might be an evil genius, but
maybe.
But yeah, I try to do similar things like in Petals II in the first area, where again you have an area you explore with the eye, without the eye, you get the eye and explore it again, and it's all laid out differently. But I don't think I did it quite so well, and yeah. Part of it might be that I didn't mind just letting the player get trapped in a horrible loop that serves no purpose except to kill them a dozen times as they try and find out if there's anything there.
Yeah, I was about to say that you intend to really give it your all when designing stuff around the eye in your levels. There are many examples. This is one of the best ones. And people tend to forget just how important it is to design your level around the eye. Because some people sometimes just give it the eye and it pretty much just acts like a key, and that's it.
Yeah.
Where you really need to pay.
There you go. Happy now.
To what you're doing in the level and how it affects backtracking. Well, maybe not in this case. For example.
Yeah. Obviously, in Coming in the Dark,
I just cannot shut up. Okay, sorry.
No, sorry, it's fine. In the Coming in the Dark, I obviously gave it to the player really early, and so it has this moment where it's important.
I like this in this
changes the way of things, but then it kind of is just there for the rest of the game and lets me use add ghosts.
This is unattended, like secret 5-gate thing, yeah.
Yeah, because if you give it to the player early, there's no aspect of backtracking. No backtracking aspect with the eye.
Yeah, I'm not a massive fan of levels that you are massive and confusing, and then you get the eye and have to explore them all over again.
Yeah, that usually sucks. But for example, in the Tower of Lightning, I kind of use it in a backtracking manner. But I really paid attention to guide the player. I even blocked some passages so people that don't stray away
That's always a good
from the
idea.
tower.
Or
I have
usually.
absolutely no skills with placing the eye in these ways. Or like using the eye in this way. I just use it as a key or like a shortcut ability.
Yeah. I think like the Metroidvania nature of Knytt stories means, you know, the way it kind of the original levels, like the machine and Strange Dream
What
played
are they
out,
doing
it can be great as a way of creating shortcuts. If you know your player's gonna have to run through the same area multiple times, having a way of giving them shortcuts when they do it on the nth time is quite a kind thing to do and quite a way of keeping the game fresh.
And something you see in
'Cause it lets you
every
find out some
game,
of
not
the
just
stuff.
KS levels.
But not that I've done it that way. I think the eye can be used to reinvent something. You have an area and you understand it and you get your head around it, and then you get the eye and you can go back and explore it.
Yeah, that's really the best use of eye.
I wouldn't say I've done that a lot, but it can be a really interesting upgrade to use and a really interesting thing to give to the player. But you know, difficult to use creatively, which I think is why it doesn't happen all that often.
Let's see, what have we got next? Marcel, I don't know what TOL stands for, so you're gonna have to tell me what that means.
I just couldn't help but notice that this level theme is kind of reminds me of what I did in the Tower of Lightning. How you have this central structure that you explore, but then you have to exit to these outer worlds and come back afterward.
Yeah, I don't know. Is that something that Niflas used in any of his levels? I don't think so. But it's an idea I really like, that you have a hub and you're exploring outwards into different areas.
Yeah, I like that
one,
as well.
Where do I go?
Like I say, that was one of the kind of ideas in my head when I had this dream that made me play Knytt stories. It's kind of the core of my design, kind of almost the part of my origin story.
Yeah, so let's not do that.
That is
Let's
a
go back.
concept and a design method that I wanted to explore and play around with.
Oh, I'm supposed to be able to
Knytt
squeeze through
stories
here, but I
dreams
can't
often?
because the block is different.
I would say that's the only one that's stuck with me for any length of time. I've had days where I've been designing loads and then I can't sleep because I keep thinking of things that I want to add to the level. But
that has to be a great feeling
different
when
ways
you're
to
in the
do things.
flow of it like that.
But yeah, I
I'm
wouldn't say
asking-
this.
I'm asking because I have a ton of KS dreams, like all the time.
Really?
Even though
Okay.
I haven't been designing levels for years now, like truly. So, but I still get KS dreams constantly,
Huh, what a treat.
which is
I think a lot of there's like a thread on the forum now where people
Yeah,
can
that just
post
started.
their dreams. I need to post mine. I've been having a ton like either mostly about people in the community or like in my dreams and like less Knytt stories.
Oh, okay.
Content.
That's not what we wanna
but, like,
hear.
You know, they'll be in. I think a lot of people have been having Knytt stories dreams recently.
I haven't.
I avoided
wish
kind
I
of
did.
posting the story in the thread, just because I knew we were going to be having this conversation soon. And I'm
That's-
talking about it here.
That's insightful of you. That's actually some great foresight, honestly.
Well, like
Yeah,
I know it's
Simba
kind of an
impressed.
interesting part of the story of how I got into this. It feels a bit weird that this thing that's had such a massive influence on my life and on other people that's given me so much to share with the world, all came about because of a dream I had. You know, because I completely given up on even the idea. It was just a little bit too complicated for me, and I didn't think twice about it. But yeah.
Wow.
I mean,
Okay.
I can't speak for others, but to me it's a bit sad when I have those dreams because it's like my head telling me that I have this need to create, to do creative stuff, and I'm not doing it. So it's kind of, in that way, it's a bit sad. I
Brain is
suppose.
disappointed.
I don't know
Yes.
how others feel about it. I should explore this thread.
Please, we need you to return to level making as soon as possible.
When I was making The Coming of the Dark and Eurydice, and when I started Dragon Myth, and I Dreamed of the Sky, I think I made those levels in the space of a handful of years. And then when I came back to finishing I Dreamed of the Sky, took me years. When I decided to finish Dragon Myth, it then took me 3 or 4 more years to even get started on finishing it. Like, I really wish I could tap into that energy and that motivation I had when I was younger. That let
Something
me
going on
those
this screen.
first couple of levels so quickly.
And Dragon Myth, well, it's a KS Plus level.
I'm curious
so,
what you think of the randomizer and what it's doing to your level.
Did you start making it after KS Plus
I think it's
came
great.
out, or did
I
you
started
find a way
making
to...
it pretty much as soon as I finished Yuri.
But it's hard with all
which is
the
well before KS Plus came out.
hard-coded
and
stuff
then
in this
I
level.
started making it. I made up to the scene where you're turned into a bird. And then I stopped, and partly for a few reasons. I created a preview for it before, but no one was really replying, so I kind of lost confidence in it. I'd also realised the opening of the level is so full of dialogue and talking
this like
and
that?
very little challenge that I wasn't really happy with it. And then also I realised that it's quite easy to break the map. There's a lot of places where you can wall swim your way
Except
out.
now.
I really, really lost faith in it, and I gave up. And also, then I'd had the idea for I Dreamed of the Sky, and was really excited about that, and so I basically gave up on Dragon Myth completely. And it was, like I say, a good few years before I went back to it. I'll probably get on the forum and work it out, but I reckon probably 3 or 4 years, during which time KS Plus had come out, and that
I
kind
can
of opened
see
the door
that.
for me to like.
I feel like I always felt that Dragon Myth was like created in 2 different eras. So that makes sense to me.
Even do tiny things like giving Junie a sword when she gets it. Adding a sword to Junie's sprite when she's given it by the fairies, and doing different things with layers and tile sets, and it was such a great tool, and I was really excited to use it. And so when I went back to Dragon Myth, I did so with the intention of figuring out how I could use it both in the newer parts of the level and working it backwards into the older parts.
Can you convert vanilla level to KS Plus that already exists?
Yeah, there's I
Switch?
can't remember what it is. There's a setting in the world folder which you can just change one number, and it changes it. You can also add KS Plus features to a vanilla level, so that Do Not Pick Up the Key is a vanilla level, but it has KS Plus features in it, which will only appear if you're playing in KS Plus.
Where's the switch?
This stuff blows my mind. I'm not ready for this.
Put it down to the genius of ego massive.
Wait, sorry.
Realised the opening of the level is so full of dialogue and talking and very little challenge that I
was so mind-blowing.
Wasn't really happy with it. And then also I realised that it's quite easy to break the map. There's a lot of places where you can wall swim your way out of the map, and I really, really lost faith in it, and I gave up. And also then I'd had the idea for I Dreamed of the Sky, and was really excited about that, and so I basically gave up on Dragon Myth completely. And it was, like I say, a good few years before I went back to it. I'll probably get on the forum and work it out, but
Not this switch. Oh, maybe it
I
is
reckon
this
probably
switch.
3 or 4 years, during which time KS Plus had come out, and that kind of opened the door for me to even do tiny things like giving Junie a sword when she gets it. Adding a sword to Junie's sprite when she's given it by the fairies.
That's not a
and,
tiny thing.
doing different things with layers and tile sets, and it was such a great tool, and I was really excited to use it. And so when I went back to Dragon Myth, I did so with the intention of figuring out how I could use it both in the newer parts of the level and working it backwards into the older parts.
Can you convert vanilla level to KS Plus that already exists?
Yeah, there's
Well, that's what's mind-blowing. I guess I don't really know
folder which you can just change one number.
I don't really know what that means, I guess.
You can also add KS Plus features to a vanilla level, so that Do Not Pick Up the Key is a vanilla level, but it has KS Plus features in it, which will only appear if you're playing in KS Plus.
Something
This stuff blows my mind.
Something cute
I'm
about
not ready for this.
Put it down to the genius
hearing
of
the
ego
author
massive.
saying the name of his own level. I don't know.
That end of story.
Yeah, I don't know if how much
I missed
much it is
Hollow
to him,
again.
but I'm happy to just lay it all at his feet.
Freaking everything. All right. I guess
this isn't
I
good.
guess I just want to get it out of the way. You pronounce it Eurydice. I pronounce it Eurydice because of how I learned it in elementary school. And
Yeah, I learnt it in school as well. Which is weird. Like, why were we
Supposed to
taught
be a
when we were
diagonal.
children? Were we taught a myth about how death is inevitable?
I
You know,
wasn't.
and how it can't be beaten? Why were they teaching children that?
I don't know, to prepare us for life.
Yeah.
Prepares for death.
But yeah, at one point I did use Google to try and find out how it's actually pronounced. I think it's something like Eurydice or something. So we're both really wrong. Maybe.
Marcel, could you please repeat your pronunciation?
I guess I was the closest because we just say Eurydica.
Eurydica. I mean, you might be right. I don't know. I'm sure the.
What's the origin? Oh, it's Greek?
Well, it ends with A. I mean A, which is different from English. I'm not sure if that's closer to the Greek original, because in Polish every single female name ends with A.
Okay.
Wow.
What's going on here? Jumping tiles?
I think that we speaking English kind of use the silent E, or treat the E on the end as silent. So it becomes Eurydice or Eurydice or something like that, rather than
Yeah.
which I'm sure is a cultural adoption. I'm sure that's not how it's pronounced in Greek. It's just the way we do it because it looks familiar.
Yeah. English language. How about it? So,
Marcel, why don't you, ask some questions about level we can't pronounce?
I don't remember how you do this in the original version. Do you jump past these or what?
It was one of the first levels I was really impressed with. I
People
mentioned
love
it
that
before.
level.
So, to me, the starting areas are very burned into my memory.
Yes.
Very iconic. I mentioned that the very first screen you spawn in,
No, it's true.
it's one of my
I thought the
favorites.
spikes would block
Yeah.
you.
because you exit and you see those.
Oh, I was gonna do a
always
lot.
Close off, and it gives you this goal
Oh, yeah.
to work towards throughout your journey. It's really great.
Yeah,
It's a good story for sure, and nice
I do
looking
like that,
thing.
that, you know, you see this extra tomb right at the beginning of the game and you can't open it
I
at
think-
the end.
I think I had just played too
I've
many
been-
good levels
haven't
by the
played
time I
any Resident
played.
Evil games, but I was watching some Let's Plays
Eurydica.
from the remakes recently, and they do similar things where there'll be a room that you see quite early on in
No, I
the
have to
game,
open
particularly
it
Resident
again.
Evil 2, which is also mostly set inside a single building. You see a room right at the beginning of the game. It's locked in some convoluted way, and much later, and you keep running past it. You keep running past this door, and much later, you find the one item that the kind of lock that fits this key. And immediately, because you pass this room so many times, just think, oh, I know where that goes. And it's absolutely genius. It's really brilliant. And I guess it's simpler, obviously, with KS, because there are only 4 locks. 4 keys. But it was fun to kind of have that. Right at the start, you see this door, and you know it's there, and you pass it so many times, you can't forget about it. And you know that when you find the purple key, you know exactly where it's going to go.
That is a cool thing.
Yeah, I love the Resi games as well. Amazing stuff, and a lot to learn about game design. I mean,
Yeah,
Those-
I'm not a big fan of horror games, so I've not played them myself, but I do find them really fascinating, and I've enjoyed watching them play them.
You said you like it works well. I haven't gotten stuck
Yeah,
much. What do you
so-
think of like the
go
visual
on, go
impact
on.
it has?
So I suppose you
the
were
different colored
inspired
waterfalls
by
and
this
stuff like that.
myth.
I don't know. I think that's cool.
So maybe tell us
Can I
about
squeeze
that.
through
Are you
here? What is
into
this?
Greek mythology, or
Oh.
what was the story about with that?
I've never got massively into any particular mythology, but I have always enjoyed mythology. I wouldn't say there's any, Viking or Norse or Greek. There's nothing I've really studied massively, but I've always enjoyed like hearing the stories and bouncing off of them. I don't know what it is, because so often they're really bad stories, but maybe that's just that they're so kind of prototypical. They're so refined
Yeah.
down to kind of the image.
Okay, we're
the
here. I
essence
love
of what
this
a story
area.
is. Just because they're so
My
old.
favorites
and
in the
they're so,
level.
They were the first stories created, basically, and people trying to figure out the world and figure out how to tell tales to each other. I guess that's what makes them kind of iconic. And yeah, as I said earlier, I learned Eurydice, or however you pronounce it, in school when I was probably before I was a teenager. And I don't know why it stuck with me as much as it did, but it was always there in the back of my head. Um, and oh, sorry, go on.
Yeah, I think it's made for one of the most memorable stories in chaos history. But I don't know how I don't feel about it.
As the myth itself is really, like I said, it's a story about.
Oh, wait, we're talking about
death
Dragon
can't be
Myth now? Then
overcome,
yes.
No matter how hard you try, and I think part of it of making the level, I wanted to kind of change the ending. But when
Yeah,
I
there's
came to
different
it, I
colors for
couldn't
the
quite
waterfall. You didn't
get
notice like
away
when I
from
got I, it was blue and
I
red
didn't
and
want to
stuff.
change it too
Forget
much.
it. No one appreciates my
ended
work.
up, like, I think the ending of Eurydice is a bit of a mess. It's not very clear
Nothing is
what I
solid.
was talking about, or what I meant by that kind of last sequence after you save your child.
Don't worry about it.
Um,
It's my baby,
and
but
so yeah,
like-
no one
Like the kind of
cares.
poetry at the end.
Where am I
like,
supposed to go?
super
What's happening here?
abstract.
yeah. I think I wanted to kind of say you can create your own ending. Maybe she succeeded and saved her son, and maybe it was just an image in her head, and he actually was dead, and there was nothing she could do about it.
The filters make so many
I don't
things
think I conveyed
fake.
that very well. And even if I had, I don't think it would have worked very well.
Up and right.
I wanted to kind of challenge that ending and make something a bit more hopeful.
I guess this guy is destroying my
'Cause obviously the myth is such a sad story, but I don't know how well it worked. I'm not entirely satisfied with it. And when I was working on the Eurydice remake, I came up with a different ending. In fact, I can remember I was standing at a bus stop one morning when it clicked in my head how I could end the story, and I was so excited. If I do ever make the Eurydice 2, or if I ever publish the novella, I'd be quite excited to share that. I don't
Yeah,
wanna tell you what
randomizing
ends
filter
the
levels
story
is
in
not
case they
great.
ever do share it.
Or I mean, it depends what you like.
That's
Maybe it's
okay.
fun to have
Exciting
fake
stuff.
platforms.
So, tell us, are you a big fan of lemmings?
Oh wow, yeah. I certainly was such a fan enough to steal some of his tile sets for Eurydice.
Oh, yeah.
When I was very young,
Whoa. Robot Lucinda. Oh boy.
Oh, sorry.
That's
listen to your
hey,
like
it's
a
creative usage or
Sounds
whatever
like
it's
an
called.
Undertale reference. Straight Flame will appreciate.
I'm like, sorry, I'm just like, I'm like going to look for Lemmings tile sets right now. Oh yeah, okay.
Found the lock was
What's this?
solid.
It
I
says
could put
ripped by
hollow on
Talps
it.
on it. Is it from? Oh, it must be from a different game. Okay.
from the original
And there's a
game of
plant
Lemmings,
up
which
there?
is
This is
a puzzle
impossible,
game where
man.
basically you have a bunch of lemmings that walk in a single direction. And you've got to use their until they hit a wall, which they turn around and walk in the other direction, and they will just walk off cliffs or get trapped in holes or whatever.
Oh,
and you have
sick.
to get them to an exit to the level by digging or building or blocking them from
Give me
walking off the
umbrella.
edges. And when I was very young, my older sisters had we had a computer, we had video games, and I would sit and watch them play games. And Lemmings was a game they played a lot, and I really enjoyed watching it. And when I got my own laptop for the first time, I managed to find a version of Lemmings in a game shop, and was really excited to play it. And played the first kind of the easy levels, and then got horribly stuck on the next difficulty and never completed them. But I did love the way the levels just sprawl. Like there would be a big long level with lots and lots of scenery all across it, and bridges and buildings and towers, and then in the middle there'd be a tiny little area where you actually played the game, surrounded by these structures that have
save.
no bearing on the actual gameplay. And yeah, I did find that inspiring. And I did really like. Now I'm not so
Oh, there's
happy
a
that I stole the graphics. Not that just because they look so different from KS.
You
they don't
use
fit
the
in very
graph.
well,
You didn't
but,
steal them. Come on.
But at the same time, they feel like really
What?
iconic, or not iconic, but when I see it, I'm just like filled with happiness
Sure.
and memories. And I
Thanks.
love the well is the well from Lemmings too?
Yeah, again, I took the graphics from Lemmings and reshaped it into what I
Okay.
wanted. And I like to think that it's less of me stealing something and but more me, referencing something I loved and
Well, yes, that's what it
sharing
is.
But it was also like I couldn't make graphics. I'm going to take someone else's and use their hard work instead of my own.
We're talking about the well in Eurydice.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I did really like the I can't remember what I was going to say. I've lost the
Oh,
thread.
that's not a well.
Um,
Can I see it early or it's deeper in?
yeah,
Well.
the well was taken from Lemmings. I think if I was going to do that again,
Well, I thought the
would
well was at the start.
maybe
No, it's to the
cross
left.
over it and put my own colours in and make
Yeah.
it Knytt stories more. But actually, if I do remake Eurydice, I will just make my own graphics from scratch because I feel more comfortable now and I wouldn't want to take someone else's work like I did then.
sounds like a good time. I think yeah, people would be all over that. That much is for sure.
Yeah,
I
right.
can
You
see
made-
it. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, go on.
I wanted to ask.
I did
about,
play Lemmings, the old one, a little bit.
map.
Never got
You made
into
a
it.
map for this
But
level.
it seemed like
on
something
the
I
Yeah, I
would
posted
like.
it on Don's Discord earlier this week. I
Oh,
think.
that's me. Earlier
And
this
yeah,
week.
when I
a year
the first
ago.
thing I did when I was making Eurydice is get out a gigantic pad and sketch the map. I had the whole thing planned out from
Yeah.
from the village and the sea and the temple and the well all the way down to the weird UFO that has no business being in the underworld but is there anyway. Where you find the hologram. And obviously, when I came to make it, I hadn't got I
Why is
didn't
there
know
a
what
thing
everything
like
would look
this
like.
here?
I had any vague idea, but it was.
I think it's because of the randomizing.
Yeah, there have been times where I've started KS by sketching. Often in Microsoft Paint, I'll just scribble screens or a rough layout of an area. Sometimes I'll sketch a map and work out how Junie's going to move through a series of screens. I don't think I've ever just written down the entirety of a level before, like I did with Eurydice.
So none
I
of
think
this
that's the only time
solid?
I kind of sketched the whole thing before I started. Yeah, it just helped me get the ideas and the
No
paper and
jump
work out the
tile.
sequence for everything. The first part of Eurydice is fairly complicated with a lot of backwards and forwards.
Okay, that's
Yeah,
solid.
so it just kind of let me get those ideas down and make sense of the shape of it before I started building.
I think it contributed to the feel, this world feel of Eurydice, because when you play it, there's a ton of backtracking involved, but it also really makes you feel like this world is interconnected, and there are those distinct areas. You have mountains to the west, and to the east there's this huge ocean that you then get to cross later. I like that aspect of this level. The huge underground area too.
One of the first 3D games I played was Phantom Menace, which a friend had on his laptop, and whenever he visited, I'd take his laptop off him and play this game for a few hours. And that game has done a better job than any other game I've ever played of making the world feel massive. It was kind of a mostly linear game of traveling through levels, but it did a great job of making the game world feel much bigger than it actually was, not making you feel railroaded even when you were. Like I remember you start in this spaceship.
Is there anything in this area? I'm just trying to
there
get
are
out.
bits where you see a room and then a big door comes down, so
I
you
think
can't
this
get
is like
into
the
the room.
exit.
But you know it's there. This big whole area is there behind this door. And there's a point where you go
Maybe
into a
umbrella is
corridor
here. I don't want to
and you
miss
leave
that.
and carry on, and then you eventually come back to the corridor from the other side. And just did amazing things like that of making the world feel massive. And that was a big inspiration for me. It's something I've always tried to kind of replicate, of finding ways of making the world feel bigger than the area you're playing through.
Right here for
Yeah,
hard.
I'm really glad I was able to do that
well-
in Eurydice.
Well,
Wait,
I had a question later about making the world feel bigger
Can't. Oh, I
with
follow.
the double jump and do not pick up the key, which you cannot access. It's
Yeah.
just there on the screen to
Yeah.
just be like, oh, look at this big beautiful world and thing you'll access. Oh, never mind. Here's the key.
Yeah, I started off putting save points in inaccessible places because they're part of the world.
Further
I
down.
don't really know what they are or what purpose they serve in the fiction of the game, but they're there. And it's nice, and it just gives you a sense that the rest of the world is, has a meaning as well. It's not just the area you're in. I think possibly putting in upgrades
Yeah.
is a step too far.
yeah, truly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it makes the world feel more. It makes it less narcissistic. That it's just not just Junie, just as the protagonist.
Good
It's
point.
a living world.
There's also a
Where
great
other people
song.
live their lives, yeah.
Here?
In Dragon Myth, the caves after the underground tunnels after you escape the castle dungeons, there are a
Oh,
lot
it's
of
slope
routes that are
objects, that's
continuous
why.
in there that you don't actually get into, and they have enemies and almost look like they have obstacles that are probably not any fun to play
Not
through.
here? No, I passed it.
But yeah, it was all just part of making it feel like there was more going in the world than the bit that you're involved in.
I was wondering if slope
Well,
objects...
That's very interesting.
I was wondering, because I've mixed, obviously, slope objects with normal blocks, and I was wondering if that would ever come back to bite me, and until now it hadn't, but yeah. But you could, like, any object could be used in a way that if it's messed with, it blocks out the whole level. So you gotta take some of those.
I don't think I ever paid attention to that, but I think it's awesome.
Thanks. You know, hopefully it contributes to the fun.
Yes. So, Marcel, do you want to?
I suppose we could continue to talk about Eurydice a bit more.
Yeah.
I just hope we don't, run out of time because we like to talk about other things. I suppose.
You'll go over time. Don't worry.
Let me. I'm gonna take like a 1-minute break. You guys can keep talking. And if this goes on for too long, I think all of us are open to doing a part 2
That's true.
at a later time. So
You
press
could have
on.
just gone on your break, listen, and no one would have noticed. Don't need to announce.
So near the ocean,
I'm dead.
There's this tower area, with a ton of levers and this water that you get to control.
Oh, the lighthouse.
Yeah, the lighthouse. I thought that was an awesome idea for a case level.
I did
really
enjoy the
made it
lighthouse. I remember
work
that.
really well. This puzzle aspect.
I think the late game
And I
Eurydice
think
was probably the
was
best.
definitely what inspired me when I was making some puzzles in Tower of Lightning. I think
Great.
those are kind of similar.
It's rude to cut you
I've got a
off.
fascination with changing states of a world, even in small ways. So you see it a lot in Eurydice, where when you first come through the valley, it's raining, and later on, I think you come through the valley and it's nighttime, and I can't remember. It's been a while since I played the level, but yeah, I wanted each time that you go through the valley to feel a bit different.
I don't know
Well,
what the
think second
valley
time
is.
it's the
Oh,
same
to the
day.
right
It's not
of this
still
town?
daytime or the same day, but it's
Yeah, I
it's
remember
now
that being
not raining
different.
anymore. The storm has passed.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, I even like little things like turning a lever and the world changes shape. I don't know why that's always fascinated me, but I really have enjoyed playing with that.
No, it's cool.
A lot of my levels are set underground, which is a shame because you can't do that kind of thing with the weather or the time of day. But like, there's a bit of Dragon Myth that's set in the rain, another bit that's set at night,
There's a planned part
and you
2.
can see the changes in the world map when you're visiting those,
Oh
those
shit, that's not solid.
parts of the game.
Nothing is solid.
Then yeah,
Are you solid? You are
yeah,
solid.
I don't know. I've always enjoyed those kind of levers and moving blocks or moving spikes.
Well, then Chaos is not the game for
cannot
you.
Kind of think of an example of something else I've played or seen in my life that inspired that. It's just always just been there in me.
How
Yeah,
are
that's
we
some
doing with collectibles?
good stuff.
Oh yeah, I changed the
I
button.
don't know, how do you feel about the final stretch?
Good on
of the level
artifacts.
with the huge underground area, this gauntlet. I think it's quite easy to get lost near the end. And
God, I
it
want
can be-
Umbrella so
particular.
much. This
I mean,
will
with
do.
the mazes where you cannot see
Water.
anywhere anything.
The darkness, yeah. I'd say that was a mistake.
Oh yeah, that
Just
part.
in terms of,
Yeah,
it's part of what I was saying earlier about the Code of the Dark, that you have to realize that players don't know what you know as the designer. And
Everyone
I
loves
thought-
making
and
dark areas like
also,
that.
helping the player through
They're
the level.
never good.
I thought it would be fun to have an area where you can't see anything and you have to rely on other clues or signs or just leaps of faith to find your way through. But actually, when you come to play those things blind,
think this
they're
is like a
not-
GC
they're not
screen.
That enjoyable. They're just a bit stressful and annoying.
There's no umbrella on the whole level. Well, the
That sounds like
randomizer has a
fucking-
small chance of adding it, so it's not over.
They're not the part. Yeah, it's not something I'd want to repeat.
No, don't repeat.
Because as you say, it wasn't the most fun part. It's easy to get lost in and to not know what you're doing next.
And
There
you
were points where I
don't
tried to use
gain
falling
anything
rain
from
effects
it.
to mark out where safe platforms were, but I don't think that was very clear.
No.
Well, that was a good attempt.
It's all an experiment. And,
An
we
attempt
learn
was made.
by making. And you learn what works and what doesn't.
Yeah, definitely. There's one final note about Eurydice from Lucinda. I'm gonna ask since she's away. It says Neil Gaiman mentioned in Eurydice.
Yes,
What?
he is an English.
I'm here. I'm just eating an orange and muted. So
Okay. Yeah, Neil Gaiman is an English novelist.
Weird orange timing.
I think he's done scripts and stuff as well for TV, but I know him mostly through the novels he wrote and the short stories. And I think it was Fragile Things as a short story collection by him,
Stupid left
which is somewhere on my
pusher.
bookshelf, but I'm not sure particularly where. Oh, I think I just found it. And yeah, there's a collection in the book Fragile Things
That was
Of,
pretty sick, and then I threw it all
called
on.
Strange Little Girls, which has a series of tiny little micro stories, each a few paragraphs long, each less than a page. And
There's a
I used the
key
text on one of
orange.
those
What?
for
No
that
saves?
ending of Eurydice.
Ever? This whole
If I can
area?
find it. Yeah, the penultimate section of Strange Little Girls Inside Fragile Things is called Raining Blood, and it's about a woman who may or may not have been killed in the Second World War. And so it kind of it presents two endings: one where she is grown up but is kind of still traumatized by her experience, and another where she was killed but she died fighting. And yeah,
Yep,
that's
about
the kind
that.
of that was pretty much the ending and some of the text I used for Eurydice. Like I said earlier, I wanted to create a sense the player could decide their ending, but it didn't
So
really
the
work
peak
that
up
well,
UGC is up here.
I see.
in my opinion. I know some people said they really like the ending, so I don't want to say it's awful. I wasn't very satisfied with it.
I just
So-
remember the ending.
Next, wow, you've made so many levels. It's difficult to decide. But
Yeah, we had a conversation a few days ago, didn't we, about which ones we'd talk about.
yeah, we're
Oh, the fucking
we're
ghost.
prepared. Don't worry. So I think we could move to do not pick up the key.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's another iconic level. With the,
What's
with the
great
title
about it
that
is that there's so
I
much
cannot
like
forget.
effort.
Yeah. Thank you.
Very very interesting.
Like it's like a proper full level culminating in like this funny idea. Whereas I think if most people had this funny idea, they would just make 4 or 5 dumb screens and then the key. So yeah, that's it. This one really deserves its praise.
Premise.
Hey, I'm back because I wanted to.
Pick up
Sorry
the
if
key.
you hear me eating my last orange slice, but I wanted to ask questions about do not pick up the key
I want to ask a question.
because I personally prefer like shorter shorter levels that are like easier. So I'm particularly fond of do not pick up the key.
Is it easy? I guess it is.
My first question is, where did this idea come from?
I had a point where I was just kind of realizing how weirdly video game protagonists act. Like, the logic you follow when you're playing a game is so weird. You do things that no human being would ever do.
Yeah.
Like just
breaking
things like,
pots.
and, you know, the ultimate example from the level. If you're out in the street today and or even, I don't know, somewhere a building you're familiar with, like a place you work or, and you saw a key lying on the floor, the one thing you would not do is pick it up and start jamming it into locks in the hopes of finding where it belongs. You know,
Don't think I've ever found.
you would
a
never do
key.
that. And you wouldn't speak to every single person you pass in case they have something interesting to say. And you wouldn't do any of these things that video game protagonists do all the time.
Well, calm down.
Yeah.
It's not that
And
fun.
that is the origin of Do Not Pick Up the Key. Just thinking about how stupid we.
You could
the
make a
whole
series
concept of
about
video
that,
games
then.
is and how weirdly they teach you to act and behave. You don't go and smash people's pots for finding money.
Yeah.
It's the classic example.
That is indeed
Yeah.
the classic one.
And I guess I think that this kind of world where the culture is to like
It's funny.
that
It was
there's
just
this
kept
key
accelerating. This
somewhere
laughter.
and you simply don't pick it up
And
is
everyone's
like,
obsessed with it.
yeah, it's it's
big
it's just not a
walls,
real
no.
world scenario at all, and it's so absurd. It's such a weird idea. It's just
I remember I had
and then,
the
like-
idea for Didn't Pick Up the Key of this game, you know, with that title, where the objective was to get to the end of the game and not pick up the key you found there. And I had that idea for ages and ages and was just sat on it, not doing anything with it, but I just really liked it. And then I started working on
wonder-
it. It was near the end of
I wonder what would happen if you did that sort of thing just at the end of a normal level, like not a level title, do not pick up the key, but let's say the end of, well, Eurydice is too serious, but just a different level and just ends with like, don't pick up this key. It would not have the same effect. Oh, I'm in like a blocking thing. You can't get me. Because now it's like in do not pick up the key, it's such the focal point of the whole thing. I wonder how people would react if it was more like suddenly thrown at and.
I dreamed of the sky, and the tile set in that first area inside the, I guess, the laboratory with the metal build, scenery. I actually originally designed to be for the final area of I Dreamed of the Sky. And that area wasn't really working. I wanted to work on something different. And when I started working on Do Not Pick Up the Key, I used that tile set as a placeholder more than anything else. I was like, I need to make something for this, but I'm going to, just because I want to get on with making screens, I'm going to use this scenery that I designed for something else.
It's not
just until I think of something better. And it really worked. I really liked it, and I didn't change it. And also, I did change it in I Dreamed of the Sky where it wasn't working. And so the tiles that I made for a different level ended up being the one I used.
Well, actually, I gotta give credit to my brother for that, for Fates of Worth, where the main antagonist, Camersault, you fight him in many spots, and you can kill him early. And usually when people do it, they're like, "Well, I beat the game, I killed him." And then he pops up again, and he's like, "What? You think you're the only one that can use consumption to get back to life?" But yeah, it's like directly referenced that coming back to life is something that not only the hero can do.
Yeah, because the first area, it's like, I mean, the music really stands out to me. It's very comedic.
It's really upbeat, and I liked that idea. It was just like a level that's just a lot of fun. You know, you're here not to do anything serious or important. You're just here to have fun and laugh at the jokes.
Yeah, totally.
And then make a decision at the end that you'll feel bad about either way.
Yeah, and then at the end, like, it makes it so you can't go back. Like, your decision is kind of like permanent unless you
cheat or whatever. Like really go for it.
Cruel, although I think I went into the level editor and just put myself right before the key to
I'm sure a lot of people did that.
Decision once more.
Yeah, I like that it's like that.
When I started making it, my intention was to make it a really small level, almost a joke level. So my thinking was
that's what I was saying before.
The key would be at the end of that laboratory kind of thing that you explore at the start. You get to the end of that area, and there would be the key, and then you make your choice, and that was that. And as I came to it, I just kind of felt like, no, there was more to do, there was more to see. The pacing wasn't quite there with just that. It needed more. And you saw the map that I made for Eurydice. I posted in Don's Discord, and I made similar plans for most of my other levels. I've always started out with some idea of what each area is going to look like and how long it's going to be. And Do Not Pick Up the Key was really different because it just kept growing as I was making it. And I don't know. I think I made it almost on instinct every step of the way. You know, the whole length of it, I kept adding areas that felt like it was time to stop.
I wonder if this cutscene is gonna break everything.
Maybe just because it was so spontaneous and so unplanned, and I just let it do its own thing and be its own thing.
No jump, or I'm bad.
Yeah, and each area feels sort of it's just,
Why did that purple
the
block
areas
look
are also different. I can really see
what's going on.
sort
like
of
a line for
an improvisational aspect to them.
Yeah, and I was saying to Ix earlier that I liked kind of changing the state of the world as you went through it and creating a sense of time, and I really love that about Do Not Pick Up the Key. You start out inside the lab. Once you get out of the lab, it's night, and as you start climbing up the mountain on the right hand side, it starts to snow. And then when you're inside the mountain, there's a scene where you can see the snow settling on the ground. And then when you get out of the mountain, suddenly it's snowy everywhere and daytime.
Did I notice all those touches? I don't think so.
And I really, really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed that progression of the weather and the daytime and the time of day. It just made it so enjoyable to develop the world. It is the thing, like you were saying, that it's a weird world where everyone's obsessed with the key, but also it's a world where everyone's living a life. You know, there's a guy with a fortress, and there are children playing in the snow, and
I can't even get it.
It creates a weird kind of
but that's like necessary for the joke to work.
Like the theme is ridiculous, but the world feels real. You know, if I can say that about my own work.
No, I agree.
Isn't there like a cutscene trigger here?
It was just really fun to do it that way.
There it is.
I
think
I had so much fun making it.
I
had so much fun building it and putting it together. There were like most of my levels I've looked back on and thought there's something in this like quite big that I would change if I could. There's nothing really like that in don't pick up the key except a little bit of the ending dialogue in the good ending. But
You
yeah.
mean the screen that says "You're amazing"?
Oh.
Yeah.
Everybody is trying to go on a date with you, and I love you, and like.
Yeah. No, so it doesn't say everyone's going trying to go on a date with you. It says everyone of the opposite gender is trying to go on a date with you, and I would like to change that. I feel a bit bad for putting that.
Oh yeah, I noticed that when I replayed it recently, and I'm like, you know, it was a time from a while ago where, you know, people.
No, I can't move.
Like, we're not like not stretching, but just like using like language that's inclusive like that. So it's like,
Yeah,
where's that high jump?
No, don't be
Why did
sorry.
I get high jump?
You know, it was just like 2013 or whenever it was made. So like, whatever.
Yeah, I was kind of in my own head a bit there. I didn't really think about it. And my attitudes towards inclusivity has changed a lot in the time since. So, you know, I'm happy to say that I wouldn't do that again.
Oh yeah, I don't think anyone actually takes that the wrong way, given the level's age.
I hope not. I wouldn't want to offend. And but yeah, it was a really fun level to make. It was a really positive experience to make, and it was fun to just make this joke about, you know, video game logic or illogic. And then to have, it's also like a really gratuitous thing, like if you pick up the key you lose, if you get a big scene saying you lost, and if you don't pick it up you get a big scene saying you won. But there's no reward to either ending, you just get told you won or you lost.
Well, you really like give you super many compliments and stuff, so that's the reward.
They are the good ending, I guess. It's sort of this weak reward.
Yeah, filter messes up the randomizer.
Like the
That's how it
screen
is.
where, you know, I'm told that I'm the greatest person who ever lived.
I can't get past this placement, but I did, didn't I?
Oh my god! Yeah, we all are. Everyone playing Knytt Stories is.
Why is there two of them?
And as for the bad ending, you know, you're like stuck in this room where it's like you can't win, you just die continuously, and I'm
can't
curious,
end the level.
I'm curious, are you
How did I do
curious
that?
about or scared of the idea of eternal
They were
punishment?
chasers. Ah, yeah. They are in the same group. That's true.
Man, that's a heavy question.
Explains it.
I am a Christian. I do believe in heaven and hell. Though I wouldn't say it's something that I obsess over. You know, I don't worry about going to hell. I think it was just like, when you play a game, you expect a satisfying ending. You expect a conclusion. And to
I'm gonna save here.
Someone once said that you know, they liked the fact that the Room of Doom was a reward disguised as a punishment, because it's a little bit more level to play and a little bit more thing to explore. And it's got the two jokes with the levers, where one says this lever doesn't do anything, and the other one says this lever is out of order. And
when I replayed it recently, I did not pick up the key, so I didn't see it. So I'm like getting refreshed right now.
Yeah. It was just, I just wanted it to be a joke. I wasn't trying to say anything heavy in there. And
I don't have Hollow either.
Okay.
Yeah, it was again that kind of subversion of Knytt Story, of the expectation. When you play a game and you complete it, you expect there to be an ending screen. You expect to return to the title screen.
Okay.
And actually trapping you there, where you're forced to quit, is just such a silly thing.
Yeah,
that was the point. Is to
Get me out of here.
I've said you're trapped here forever, and you know, chronically, if you were in that room, you still are, because you've never left it, and you never got a win tile or even a cutscene to take you back to the beginning of the game.
No.
What do you mean no? Yes.
Eternal punishment for picking up a key.
Yeah.
Deadly save.
You were warned. Everyone warned you. The snowman warned you.
Yeah, the Knights warned you.
The Knights.
I
Thank you for pronouncing
love
that correctly.
I love the Knights, and I love the way the word is spelled, and
What?
with the Y. Okay, so
When Dragon Myth came out, several people like told me I'd misspelt knight. I'm like, no, I didn't. It was deliberate. And the K is hard.
These filters, the
those
darkness,
people probably
really
don't
doesn't
play
help.
Knytt Stories. So
Maybe.
There's a one way
I guess
here.
I was also
You don't
going to
see that
ask
every
you,
day.
like, why did you make it so long to get to the punchline? Like, why did you extend the world so much? But I think you kind of answered that.
I think it
with
was just
saying
about
that-
pacing. It was making
No,
the
it was
pacing it in a way that felt
absolutely
right.
necessary.
It was very
Otherwise, it would have been
instinctive.
just another forgettable
Okay.
But I'm really happy with the result. Like, my original plan was just a tiny little, almost an April Fool's Day
Gimmicky
joke kind of
thing.
thing, where it's just one joke told quickly. But drawing it out gives you a feeling, makes it a satisfying level as well as the funny conclusion. I hope.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
It's
can imagine.
I'm a big fan of that
I don't know
level.
why you need to put some
Um,
platform. Like, how does this look in the
Marcel,
level? It's just
Do you
floating?
want to ask about Dragon Myth, or where are you at?
I'm following.
I can't
Let's see. I mean, I thought you'd be asking those questions because we kind of split those. among each
Drama
other, but
between the
let's see. Dragon
podcasters.
Why the simple title? What kind of question is that?
Wow. Oh,
I can-
don't ask that question.
I can. Marcel, I was thinking you could just like ask generic questions about Dragon Myth, like what inspired it, and then I could ask these hyper-specific questions. I need to know the answer to.
That has to be solid. It's because it's
I mean,
vanilla.
okay, let me think up a generic question. What inspired you
Or
to
is it?
make Dragon Myth?
Oh no.
Please don't cut this out of the interview. It's funny.
You can't now because you left over it and it won't make any sense.
Yes.
Maybe
We're
I did
trapped.
it. But now the purple thing's gonna be blocking
It
me now.
was-
Can't even do save jumping.
I wanted to make a level
Oh,
with the
there you
Gustav's
go.
daughter map. And that was all it was. I looked at the map for Gustav's daughter. And built the
You know what?
story
That doesn't
map.
surprise me at all.
So, it gave
For
me a
widely.
village, it gave me a castle, it gave me... Or a tower that I could turn into a castle. No, the castle's in the original.
That
isn't it?
doesn't
Yeah,
surprise me at all.
It gave me the
It's-
village, it
you
gave me
just
the
wanted to
castle,
make a
it gave me this
Gustav
weird-shaped mountain, it
mapped
gave me a
level,
hole, and I just took all these elements...
And Dragon
put them
Smith
together,
is
gave
like
them
what
holes in
would
the
become
ground.
from that.
I took all these bits and put them together and thought, what can I make out of this?
If
What's-
you're very
what can I
ambitious and
build this
talented.
into? Using only what the map has given me. And obviously I did expand on that a bit. I've added, the different coloured mountains and the broken down versions of the village. But really it was just, I can remember for one day I sat down with the map, with that tile set, and looked at all the elements it gave me and put the story together out of that.
And I love the dome houses you made. Those are so good.
Thank you. So yeah, they're based on the ones on the map, and even the colours. I think I just lifted the colours and tweaked them slightly to reduce the distance.
Yeah, if nothing else, it's really like a great sort of
It
tribute
was
to
partly
Gustav's
inspired
daughter.
by a flash game called
Gustav's
Peasant's
daughter
Quest,
on crack.
another flash game, which is a story about a peasant who goes to fight a dragon after it destroys their cottage.
Cottage, that's a word.
And yeah, I think
I
it
want
was
other
it was a silly
dwelling
game and a lot of
cheeses.
fun and very, very jokey. And I took a bit of that.
Can I
obviously
also
made my
if
version
that's...
more serious.
No, it's springing out of the way.
Yeah, and then there's another flash game because I played a lot of those called Knytt, where the final level of the game took place inside a massive creature, a massive predator. And again, you can see where the influence was there.
What's killing me?
But yeah, it just really all came out of the tile set. I wanted to make something. I
This
wanted to
level
make
is
something
super
using
hard
maps,
to
and I
randomize,
wanted
let
it
me
to
just
be
say
quite
that.
big. And so I just started with those elements that Niflas gave me.
And then it became a medieval-inspired dragon slaying quest.
Exactly, yeah. So it gave me the castle. It gave me some fantasy elements like the waterfall. And so I just thought about what I could do with those pieces.
Wait, he doesn't kill me? God, I wish I had double jump.
I see that you've reused the tower puzzle idea.
I need another save.
Yeah.
Oh, the
that
double
was-
water here.
I think I just hadn't got it out of my head from Unity. So I still had ideas there that I wanted to explore, and I still hadn't given up on that kind of concept. Like I didn't feel done. I wanted to make more of it, and so I just did basically. Just exploring that idea of the levers and the water, and again, if you play the New Game Plus version of
I don't think I can go that
Dragon Myth,
way.
which you can get to by finding all the 5 gold creatures and completing the secret area.
Wait, did I
There's a
do
different
that?
version of the tower where you have to kind of
Yeah,
move
blue
the
water from
water
flow. See how pretty it
past
is?
you. So you start in a room, You make your way up the tower and you have to move the water all the way down the tower to get past it. And that was really what I wanted to do with it. I didn't manage to do it in the original version, but when I remade it for in New Game Plus, I had another go and put that together the way I wanted it to be in the original. Never quite got right.
So hard. Why is there so many enemies here?
Yes, New Game Plus.
My very, very lazy New Game Plus, which is basically the same but with a different avatar, a different custom character.
Yeah.
Apart from the tower, which is the only part of the actual gameplay I changed.
What is the character's name is
Those are solid.
Gianu, right?
Yes. Or Gianu?
Gianu? What kind of
something like
name is that?
Okay. Sounds like that was enough.
I designed her for a level called Liangzhu or Liangzhu.
Doesn't sound like I missed anything.
Which I made using
Okay,
tile sets
hold
from
on,
the.
I got an idea.
So there was a community project on the Knytt Stories forum to kind of to make some new tile sets, and it was very cool.
So
and made
much
some really
shit.
great stuff, and I wanted to make a level out of those tile sets. I wanted to make a level specifically to use those sets. And the level I created was called Liangzhu because the first of those sets in particular had quite an oriental kind of look to it. And so I looked for a Japanese name for the title. I looked for a Japanese name, Chinese name for the character and the title of the level. And so I do kind of regret giving her that name just because it is so distinctive and doesn't really fit with the rest of the world. But it is now her name, and I can't do anything about it.
I guess I don't know any. I know so little about Chinese names. This much is becoming evident. But I don't know why it just seems to fit somehow.
Okay.
I feel like it fits in its own distinctive way.
Okay.
Personally.
I'm glad you liked it. I'm glad it was that you appreciated that.
What
Yes,
is up
I
there
do
even?
appreciate Gianu.
I was just googling for names basically for Chinese sounding stuff, and I think the name actually means fairy, which I thought was quite fitting as well.
That's
I'm
extremely.
not sure which
fitting.
language that's in, but yeah.
Let me give it a Google myself. Let's see, putting you on the spot here.
Sorry,
no,
that's
it's
so
a
bad.
test.
There's a
But it's
world
not
of.
Japanese.
No, it's
Oh,
definitely
it's. It says I'm getting some Chinese results.
Yeah, no way.
Some people with the first name who have a Chinese last name, and yeah, it appears to be okay. I'm finding it. There's a short story called Jianu,
Oh, yeah, it says it-
translating as heroic woman.
Okay.
That fireball timing.
In my
oh
memory,
my
it
God.
meant fairy. So I don't know if I've misremembered that, or if it was in one specific dialogue, or if the website I looked at was just wrong. Maybe that's perfectly possible.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm not here to critique the
my
that. That's not a concern that I have.
No, it's just the googling of things. The internet is always a reliable and infallible source of information. So.
I found the word. It means fairy.
Okay.
Oh, you win. You win.
You can paste, yeah, I'll paste it in the chat.
Thanks.
As I have some more title-related questions, title and name. So, this is a insanely specific question. So you have you have Princess Erica.
Yeah.
Erica spelled with a K, and so, to me, it looks like she's
Go
based
up here.
on
What, did I
the
miss something?
NPC who wears the pink dress. I don't know if that's true, but I just know Erica with a K was used in the level Harvest, and I was just, I don't know, her name has always been Erica to me in my head, and I don't know where did you get the name Erica for that character?
I knew someone called Erica. I can't remember if she spelled
Finally
it with a K
out
or
of
a C.
darkness.
I
So
can't remember
annoying.
seeing that in Harvest. Though. It's a level I played a
Oh
few
no,
times.
more darkness. I think this is the last one though. I think.
So
I'm
yeah, I
still
can't
left
tell you
with-
for what extent I, precisely where I got the name from, apart from the fact that I'd known someone with a name and she was really nice, and I quite like the name.
Cool. I think
Yeah.
that satisfies my curiosity that it's
It's a very
more of an
common name in
external
Swedish, like with K. It's
Yeah,
not
I didn't
weird.
deliberately reference Farrick, so maybe that was in my head and that's what inspired it. Maybe
Yeah,
that's
I
why I
think-
spelt it that way.
Potentially. I cannot speak to this.
Yeah.
It's a mystery. So, and then Dragon Myth, the title. It's a very simple literal title. What were you?
Yeah, why didn't you call it like Myth
It
of
was
the Dragon?
absolutely the placeholder title I gave the level while I was trying to think of something better, and I never thought of
Dragon
anything
Myth.
better, so it just stayed.
Okay, cool.
Couldn't think of anything good. I called it Dragon Myth because I couldn't think of anything. Because I couldn't think of anything good when I started making it. I call it Dragon Myth as a as a placeholder, and then never filled
Yeah.
in the place.
Great.
And like I think I'd
Like,
called
if
it
it-
that for so long, it sounded okay. Because
It did sound really good. It has a really cool ring to it. I think if it was called Myth of the Dragon, which is it's like the same thing but in a more common way, then it would really seem weak. But Dragon Myth somehow is good.
this game, I started making the level before I Dreamed of the Sky and didn't finish it till afterwards. So at which point it had been the name of the level for so long that I got used to it, I guess.
I like how it seems like a lot of your creative choices are sort of going with the flow, like something sort of like sticks or occurs to you and you just follow it.
It's an interesting thing because I would say that so much of what I do I have to plan specifically. One of the reasons that I never finished Liangshu is because
I'm not randomizing filter levels.
I was still trying to come up with a story for it as I was making it.
Or glip
And the story that
fix
I was coming up
filters.
with was so dark and miserable and depressing that it didn't work. It was, especially as the character was becoming quite lively and cheerful in my head. Like, I didn't want to give her this miserable tale about how she's, I won't go into it because.
Oh my god.
But yeah, I have to do so much planning before I start. Like, I knew before I started Dragon Myth how the main story would end. I had ideas for a bunch of bonus endings, only one of which got into the game in the end. But yeah, I suppose the names, maybe were more spontaneous. Maybe I planned the overall thing carefully and then let the details be more spontaneous.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess it's a mix.
Ix, do you, I feel bad for calling you Marcel
Ix.
this whole time. I'm like, no, we need to maintain our online identities.
Well, Marcellus is my identity.
Ix, do you have
Ix
anything
sounds
else about
weird.
Dragon Myth you want to ask?
I remember
Emo.
when I played it, first played it, I broke the sequence inside the dragon's belly.
Yeah.
I think I don't remember exactly. I think I didn't lose the umbrella or something like that, or I picked it up earlier.
No, there was a jump that I thought was impossible that wasn't.
Skins was
When
only
I
so
first
good.
released Dragon Myth to my beta testers, that ending in the dragon's belly was completely different. It was, I mean, the story was the same, but the tile set was different and the layout was completely different. And everyone who
What?
played it
I thought it was safe.
hated that bit. And so did I, to be honest. Even having made it, I knew it wasn't very good. It was too hard and fussy and didn't look very good. And I knew that I had to remake it. And at some point, I ended
Inaya?
up talking to Vegetal Gibber about this, and he designed a whole new
Gibber?
tile set.
Never heard him say
He
gibber.
is amazing.
Vegetal
brilliant,
Gibber?
and
Oh,
the best.
oh,
guy.
I guess like gibberish.
As well, not just his
I
art.
always
He's
said
an awesome guy.
gibber. Vegetal
Um,
gibber.
and sadly
No.
missed. But
It just to clarify, he's alive.
yeah, as far as we know.
Well, there is
No,
an episode, so.
I talked to him a few weeks ago about
Oh,
potentially
cool.
appearing on the podcast. I think he's
I don't know the strat
he's
here.
down. So just
Oh, awesome.
yeah. Anyway, he's great. Yeah, that
I know he got really busy with work and stuff, so I didn't assume anything worse than that.
that's
Well,
life.
it doesn't get much
Yeah.
worse than work, does it?
But yeah, so he did that awesome job for me. He did an
Gibber
amazing,
on its
amazing
own?
job for the level.
Like, is that
But
like
the
talking,
end
like
result was
gibberish,
that
or
when I
it's something
finished the
completely
level,
different?
And I sent it back to my player testers and said, "Can you guys test this again?" And not many of them did, which is fair enough. It's a really long level. They'd already spent a good few hours, some of them, playing through it. One of my testers actually accidentally started retesting the original version of the level and was sending me videos of his progress, and I was like, "This is the one you played last time. It hasn't changed."
That is genuinely hilarious.
Oh, he was so upset. Like, I'm not gonna say who it was, even though I think I mentioned it in the credits of the level. But
Now I'm like going
don't wanna
right to
embarrass
the.
him.
I'm going right to the credits
Oh.
right now. I won't say who it is though because
What am I doing?
you can find out. You can find out.
Wait,
if
that's
you really want
solid?
to. But
yeah, if somebody. Well, I don't
think
know.
he was quite upset over it, and I felt really bad about it.
I don't know why I'd be
But
so
it's
upset
one of
about
those things.
that.
But the end result was that final level wasn't properly tested, and so there was a massive sequence break in it when it was released.
Oh
you think
man,
the
you said
GC
in the
what?
credits.
Am I done
You
with this
tested the
area?
wrong level.
Yeah. And And virtually everyone who played
that
it
was
was then
smooth.
suddenly posting in the forums. Oh, I broke the ending. I broke the ending.
Like
I
I'm
broke the
supposed to
ending, I
go
broke the ending."
back and up?
Okay, great. And I think Ix
Gibbers
was
are
one person who
gibberish,
actually
to
said,
gibbers to
"This is how
babble."
you broke the ending." I was like, "Oh, okay."
Vegetal
I could probably
babble.
fix that.
And then Talps, you broke
Speaking plants?
Saving Falinil by retaining the dark sprite into the
Yeah.
boss battle.
I think I came out worse in that one. You might have soft-locked my game, but I had to fight that boss battle without being able to see my player character, and it was horrible.
It sounds like absolute torture.
Oh, I was so angry at you, Ix. I was furious. I was like, why have you put me through this? I've come so far and I want to finish this, but I'm just so fed up within 5 minutes of that.
I'm going
Especially
back.
because the power-ups you had changed throughout that sequence. And because I couldn't see my character, I didn't know. So I was failing these jumps. I had no idea why.
That was just insane. It was very unlikely that you slipped through the shifts without changing the character sprite.
I was unlucky.
And
that-
also that you continued to play, like
Yeah.
when you didn't think something went bad. Why were you still there?
I started to suspect.
How am I...
And I was going onto the forums to look at other people saying how much, and like everyone was saying how great it was. Like, why? This is horrible. Why would anyone like this? This is the worst thing ever. And like, I was so invested in the story because I really loved the rest of Thanlith. It was a fantastic experience. I really enjoyed it. It was just this ending was so frustrating, and I was like, I'm determined to get to the end of this, even though I'm not having a good time anymore.
I've never seen that happen.
And yeah, it was all a bug. Ruined your level. I've never managed to replay Falinil. I started once and I didn't finish it. I really ought to give it another go because it deserves better. It was a great level.
Glass too.
A really, really great level. I'd rank it really highly. I just wish that
Oh,
I'd
further back.
hit that bug at the
Oh.
end and got to experience
Yeah.
that boss fight properly.
That was an unimaginable bug.
It's the thing though, isn't it, that you hit these things. As a designer, players will always do something you don't expect. You know, they'll always find a way of doing something you never saw coming. And like,
Oh yes.
you'll be hard pressed, I think, to find a single level without an SGE or a sequence break or a void screen in it somewhere.
Yep, I can witness to
Someone
that.
will always find a way.
I can
You know,
attest
there's always
to
something you didn't
that.
account for or didn't think of.
Oh yeah.
Thankfully, it didn't happen to like everyone, but just to one person.
Yeah.
I could easily imagine this releasing this with this bug, but happening to
How
everyone.
did that happen?
With
Like I said,
one
with
Well,
Dragon Myth,
commission.
loads of people were saying they'd broken the ending scene by finding that sequence break you found. Loads of people said it. Like, I thought almost more people found it than didn't. It was the
Oh.
impression I got at any rate.
Well-
So yeah, I'm glad that, you know, not everyone had to
I
suffer
don't
that way.
think I found it.
And it's
did I?
nice that once you found that out, you can go back and fix it. You know, nothing is permanently bad.
This
Oh,
dude
yeah.
is so annoying.
So Ix, did you how did you fix the shifts? Just quick question for you.
I didn't. When I first
Question
used
for
it,
X, that's not
level,
allowed.
The shifts were just the default shape, and the default shape is like shaped like the save
It was
point,
fixed when I
so
played
you can
it, right?
Yes.
Of course,
slip,
makes sense.
slip between them. So I just changed those to squares. I think it works now,
Yeah, I feel the whole
but
time.
I haven't tested it that much.
No one else has had the problem I had, I don't think. So I think you're safe.
Yeah, those save point style shifts are you know, they're a little risky at times.
That's not good.
Yeah, I think it's designed for
The
people to
map.
deliberately activate shifts in the same way they deliberately activate save point. And
Yes.
it's one of the things that isn't like the shape of shift isn't explained in the game or in the file in the editor. There's nothing to tell you that. You just have to find out by experience or by word of mouth.
That is
Yeah.
that is so
These
true.
auto button
That is,
pressing things.
Yeah, we need some more level making guides and tutorials and stuff.
I'm sure there's loads out there now.
Is there?
And you know, there are people who can tell you these things. The knowledge has been well collected. People like
I don't think that knowledge is shared very well.
Purple Pineapple, and
Maybe this can work.
Weeby, Can't Even, and Sirek.
Not really.
Keep changing his name.
Yeah.
Or their name, sorry. And yeah, the knowledge is there now. It's just tapping into it, especially if you're a new designer and not really familiar with the community.
You got to be like in the community to, you know,
La comunidad.
learn the know-how truly.
But also, it's a really friendly community. So if you do make a level and it's full of bugs and glitches like that, people are going to be, kind about it if you stick around. That's one thing I love about, like, the website where I was splat had a really toxic environment, and it's part of why I was part of that. I was part of that community on the internet for
Timing.
my childhood. But before I stopped participating, I'd already decided I wasn't going to get involved in anything that was like off topic of the game that the forum existed for, because everyone was just so horrible there in that part of the forum. It was really a really toxic place, part of the internet, and yeah, I stuck to my little area, and when the game stopped getting made and that area died down in interest, I left the community because I had nothing else to say that I wanted to say.
This song is so good.
You
picked all the good songs for this podcast. You have nothing left.
Been really friendly. Everyone's so nice and so supportive. It's a lovely community to be part of.
I don't know how or why it ended up that way, but I appreciate it very much.
Yeah.
I think it's because we're all just passionate about Knytt stories, and that's that. We don't
Nah,
want
we
to
need to
sacrifice
get some more
that.
toxicity in this community.
Yeah, partly maybe because it is so niche and so small. Like there aren't that many players at any one time, or any compared to an actual released game, a retail game. It's always going to be a smaller community, and I guess we all have that kind of desire to just have fun and create things and to enjoy other people's creations. It's kind of you're going into a community full of people being creative and people making things that aren't always going to be brilliant, and so you have to have that kind of opening attitude to be able to start enjoying it from the beginning. You come in knowing you have to tolerate people's mistakes because we're all amateurs.
Oh, completely.
Is this text randomized?
I don't
or does
know,
it appear
some of us
here?
have gotten pretty advanced.
I guess it does, but
myself
that
not
seems so
included.
random.
So, let's see. Ix, do you have anything to add?
No, not for now.
Okay. Cool. So, with I Chase
music?
the Moon, I'm
I like
just
the
sort of
music though. You
wondering,
could just
like,
reuse the music.
Okay,
it seems like I'm trapped.
like poetry and literature influenced your level making?
Cutscene.
And like sort of what is your
doesn't
feeling
end.
about poetry like outside of this level, and tell us more about the poetry angle.
I've always felt that like I want to design levels with a story to start with. That's always been an important part of what I've been doing.
It's good. Not so blocked.
And because storytelling was kind of my first passion.
Oh.
Like I said earlier, I started out writing fan fiction, and even the Sonic the Hedgehog levels that I sat down and wrote on pen and paper when I was 10 or 11 years old, where I kind of had a plot for the game in my head that I was working
That
towards.
was a bad save.
And yeah, I love storytelling. I've written some poetry. Some of it is good, some of it is less so. And I found that, so I think I wrote the poem that I used in I Chase the Moon first. I don't know, I cannot remember where it came from. Its origins
like
are
the
going to be
last
interesting to me.
screen
My
of
memory's just
this?
gone on the matter. I think I've got it written in a notepad somewhere, but I don't know where
There's
what
no
inspired it or where I
ceiling?
started writing it. And it didn't really work on
Thank
its
God
own.
for
It
this
just didn't really have enough
bouncers.
meaning or substance, it felt to me. And quite early on I started thinking about making a chaos level around it.
Well, not here.
I felt that could add a lot to it. Which I think it did. People have said that the poem is really great, and I think it really works in the context that it's in as part
Shift
of
on
this
the
story, as
fire.
part of this adventure. Yeah.
Oh,
I think interactive poetry is.
good.
I can't think of any other level that does that. So, good on you.
Thanks. Yeah, I wouldn't say that I'm a massive poet. Like I said, I've written a little bit. It was just another way of exploring this thing I'd written. It is
That's
a very
why
simple little poem.
I was worried about
There is quite
randomizing
a
this
lot of
level.
meaning in there to me.
Hey, we're doing it.
Which I probably don't want to go into because it's a bit, this kind of
If
unattainable
I
love
chase
chasing
someone,
gets a
yeah,
bit
that's
cheesy.
a great idea.
But
Maybe.
That's like you mean like maybe for a person?
yeah, maybe. I've never had much success romantically, so maybe that was what was going through my head.
That's an interesting interpretation. Like
I guess
'cause
these ones are never
when I play
randomized
it,
because
I
they're
just
custom
think like,
objects.
oh, this is a poem about the moon. But like,
But that's what the great thing about poetry is that you create this, you write something, and then it means different things to different people.
All right, we're close.
I studied poetry in high school. I did English literature as my in my.
We're
just
one
the last
world
year of school
away.
for, you know, in our country.
Mhm.
And it's you know, I really like it. I think it's brilliant. It's great that because it is just so personal.
Almost.
You create something with words, and then it means something different to everyone who reads it, and that's, you know, that's magical.
Yeah.
So I can sit here and tell you what I was thinking as I wrote any piece of poetry that I wrote, or I'm sure any poet could, to some degree. But you know, your interpretation is every bit as valid as what I was thinking when I wrote it, and that's what I love about it.
Yeah, but I now want to think of it from different perspectives, and you know what else could be an unattainable glory. Yeah. So, yeah, thank you for expanding this
Yeah.
interpretation for me.
Yeah, happy to.
And the music is not
Not
long.
the
it's
number
not
one
melancholic, it's sort
priority
of like
for
calm and like,
ladies,
it
unfortunately.
makes you feel successful.
Yeah,
so it's like
I don't think the theme, the feeling of the level is melancholic. Like,
no.
even though the words are about something unobtainable, that's not necessarily presented as a bad thing, which I quite like.
Yeah.
I think
want
it's
it to be a
quite
process where you want it
melancholic
to be uplifting.
myself. but what do
It's
I
the only
know?
creative level I've made. It's the only level without, you know, dangers, apart from missing your jumps. And I made it for
Still
a
no
competition,
hollow?
so I'd had the idea to turn this poem into.
Oh,
a
this is
Knytt
like the
Stories
secret
level,
area, is it not?
and it didn't work what I had in my mind. I kind of saw you climbing up a tower and then traveling across the sky, maybe by jumping on clouds, like
Hello.
in Eurydice.
Yeah.
And then climbing down a mountain. I wanted you to go up, across, and down.
Yeah, you can give
And there was no
guidance if you think I
substance to
need it.
There's nothing to
I
do
don't
once
mind.
you're up, apart from jump over clouds
Wait,
and then
there's a-
eventually go down again.
There's a... hold on, this is
So
just
it was rubbish. It was a rubbish.
too amazing because it's the first time it happened to me. There is one of those KS Plus tiles that makes you press down, and it's like right on top of the save. So I just jump on it and it's saved. You can see how the inputs. I'm not pressing down. Carry on.
idea and it didn't work. And then when this competition came along to create a creative level, I picked it up again and thought, what can I do differently? How can I make this work? And I think I did succeed. in
yeah,
making
that's
it
how you do
to the
automatic
quality I wanted.
saves.
So you start by climbing the tower and you go
You
down
can learn
again, but
so
it
much
doesn't
from the
feel like you're going
randomizing.
down kind of emotionally,
Get so
even though
many
you are, you don't
ideas.
kind of feel that descent. And then you know, the ocean's a constant present throughout. You start and end at the ocean, and then there's the big bridge you cross that implies something underneath.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm really happy with how it turned out. Like, my original plan for it didn't work in my head, and I gave it up. And then when I came back to it, I had another think and got it right.
Down at the central
What was the
crossroads.
contest?
Central crossroads.
There used to be a running thread in the forums to make Knytt Stories levels.
Not this one.
And I entered it a few times. There were a couple of my, 3 of my levels, I think, that were made for this contest thread.
It's quite central.
And the idea, you know, so someone would say, make a level. You make a level to the specification.
Oh, yeah,
the
yeah,
person
yeah.
who wins gets to set the next
Oh, no.
challenge for the next set of.
Wait,
the
this
next
is
round of
supposed to be
the
patched
competition.
out.
No
This
prizes
shouldn't
or
be
anything.
possible to
Just
happen.
being the person who sets the next.
Lip, you didn't
that's
fix it.
But do you remember what the specific challenge was that created I Chase the Moon?
I think it was to make a creative level with a piano track. I could be wrong. I think that was it.
That's so simple.
Yeah, and the first one I entered was for of these contests was the level that I produced.
Should be patched.
My Loving Hadron Collider. And the rules for that one.
Oh, I forgot about that
was
level.
like you must include product placement. You must have a level where you're that's based on falling, and it must include product placement, and it must have barnyard sounds, which I ignored.
See, that's the sort of
And it
contest I
must,
want to make.
like,
I want to make
not use
stupid
mid-class tile
rules.
sets, and it must end with a scene saying how much better Cave Story is than Rhetoric Stew, because Cave Story was one of the guys who was making who set the
Oh, we
competition.
got detector.
Could
give me something useful.
He was a
Useful, but-
forumite who set the competition, and he had another guy join the forums at the same time called Rhetoric Stew, and the two of them had this weird rivalry. So
Oh, is the laser like right there?
yeah. Anyway, getting off topic, but yeah,
I've seen that once before. It's
the
kind
one
of
on was
rare.
really nice. It was really just really free.
Oh, this
Yeah.
looks gorgeous.
And that was a lot of fun. Like, I think actually I made 4 levels for that. There was another one that was
Not sure what this
there
is
was
all
to make
about.
a level that was claustrophobic, and that's where I made the Graying Tower. And there was one to make a level in collaboration. That's why Jettier and I made
Yeah,
Talps Mountain.
we need more light areas.
Let's see. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, but your voice has just changed.
Okay, because
Yes.
I
She just evolved.
yeah, I had to like charge my phone.
Ah.
I have to charge my phone, so I like had to take out the earbuds. So
Listen, just say technical
yeah,
issues.
my voice is probably sounding weird right now. Ix, do you want to take over for like the last couple questions?
Just say
you sound
technical
better.
issues.
But okay.
We don't care.
But you tend to. I mean,
Oh, yeah,
you
this
seem
guy.
To talk about 100 rooms.
Does
in
it count
here,
as a custom
right?
object?
Yes. Or I don't really know.
I'm not
anything about
policing
it.
the words,
I
I'm
just,
policing the sort of macro
someone just suggest
production
I
part of
actually
it.
asked
I'm not
Polana, like, what should I ask
saying anything
Talps?
about the questions and
And she
stuff like
said,
that.
ask her about not her. Ask him about 100 rooms in
Hello.
you. It's a mod, and I'm like, yeah, okay, I'll ask about that.
So it
What
was
is it?
it was a level that I started
intended?
making
How?
in Abandoned. I wanted to make a level that had 100 little puzzles in it, and so you finish
Oh,
one
yeah,
puzzle and
that's
it-
such a
and it
good
took you to
level.
the next.
Well,
kind of
first
thing.
section
And each-
was.
The levels would be in 10 sets of
Isn't
10.
there a
and
secret
each 10 levels
here?
have a different theme. So the first 10 were based on Eager Massive's blue
Is it that
tile sets.
edited this? It doesn't
and the
feel
next 10 were
edited.
going to be based
Oh,
on the
yeah!
underground cave network.
I remember now, the previous episodes, or at least the first one, was super edited and was so like off-putting and distracting. And now I didn't even realize that it's edited at all. So you've definitely improved that part. So instead of criticizing him, I actually just turned it around to give him a compliment. I am such a nice guy. Good thing Fubaka wants to do out sound now.
And the next 10 were going to be based entirely on Niflas tile sets. And it didn't work.
Oh,
the
Fubaka is
difficulty
gonna
I
help
had
with
was I wanted to make
production?
puzzles. I want each level to be a puzzle, and I'm not very good at making puzzles.
Time to make original
yeah.
music.
If it had been
Every
Ultimate,
episode.
it's like you did Deep Threes, it would have been amazing, a really amazing level. But I don't have
Yeah.
that ability. I
Shout out
can't,
to
I
Deep
can't
Threes.
create a puzzle like that. And so about 17 levels in, I gave up. And I'd made like 2 or 3 attempts to make this level before giving up each time, and this was the last time. And I thought, this time I'm actually going to release the unfinished level in a secret corner of the forums.
I think the
Not give it a big
cave tile
release,
set
just
ruined all
stick it
your
here somewhere to
inspiration.
say,
It was
you
so
know,
good until that
I'm done with
point.
this. I tried, I failed. I'm not sorry, I liked what I made. It was
Red
too difficult
switch?
by a long shot, but apart from that, I quite liked what I was making.
He produces his own episode. That's
Is
funny.
it
He's
released?
like, let me do this.
Could someone play it?
Yes.
Okay.
What, this?
In fact, I am planning to release it in 3 other unfinished levels very
Did I
soon.
not hit that?
On the forums.
Oh, the reaction.
All of them quite short and small and not finished, and one of them in particular
I've
is
played
probably
3
not
of
worth
those.
releasing, but I'm going to do it anyway. But yeah, I just thought that it's time to share this stuff.
Now what, this way?
I was
Wait,
thinking
everything
of
is
doing it
different.
was it last year for the anniversary of Knytt Stories, or the year before? And then
Yeah,
never
it was
got
I
around-
think it was before.
whenever it was, I never got around to it,
This,
and just sat on them even longer.
because I
But yeah,
instantly get it
I've
back.
taken these
Okay.
4 unfinished levels. I'm putting 100 dreams. I've added a few screens at the end of each one to say, this is what I was planning. This is why it didn't get finished. Yeah, I hope to share those soon. They're all pretty much in a
Isn't
state
the
where I'm
red
ready to do
switch
that.
kind
I
of a
just didn't
big
wanna-
deal?
I knew I was going
Not
to talk about it in the
done,
podcast, and I
but
thought it'd be weird to release them, and then have a podcast talking about how I was going to release them. So I'll probably post them not long after this goes, if this is published.
Yeah.
Great.
So there you go, incentive to get this edited and out, guys.
Yeah. This is just all pressure.
Yeah. Yeah, so 100 Dreams in You, it just was an idea that didn't work. And I released it because I wanted to kind of put a full stop on it at the end of my
But yeah, listen, you're right then. It's kind of weird
I
that you
tried.
didn't
I'm done
edit
with
those
it
parts
now.
out.
I liked it, but it
I
wasn't
guess
working.
you respected it too much.
So
Dear
if you want to
you.
play an incredibly difficult level, but pretty polished, that will come out soonish.
Okay.
Is that the one I haven't played?
Do
Incredibly
you
difficult?
remember the time when we designed the case level
Not
together?
worthy of respect. That's some
I don't think
bullshit.
I don't think I designed one with you, did I?
Which
Not this
one?
way.
I mean, in LP chips, Ray.
Oh, sorry,
Fun
yes.
times.
Sorry, I'm with you.
Wait, what
Sorry.
about LB
Yeah,
chips?
I mean, I wanted to ask you that, surprise you with that.
What was
with that
Talps'
question
part?
because
You did surprise me.
yeah,
LB chips.
because
Wasn't it the first
we
part?
did technically design it together because I uploaded my area, and I think you were like for a bit in charge of connecting the areas, at least for a while.
Yeah. So when the
And
project first started,
And you added
I-
a ton of stuff to my area then. And
Yeah.
but I really liked it.
you good. I'm good.
It's
That's a relief.
amazing.
I did feel bad about that. What happened? So when the level first started and we started
Yeah.
making it, I kind of took charge of it. I said I'm gonna
So, yeah,
I'm gonna
that's
make my
weird.
area first and get the show on the road.
It's
and
not
get,
on
get this
you.
off
I
the ground
thought it
and
wasn't
stuff.
edited off. I thought it was all one take.
And so I made my bit, and then other people started making it, and then I kind of fell out of, lost interest in the project. I had a bit of a fight with Fubaka, which I'm sorry for.
Fights? What was that sound?
And yeah, I decided I was going to take a step back.
That's
because
impossible.
I got very passionate
that's
about
closed
it. And got a
anyway.
bit upset when other people started adding stuff.
Okay, where
It
did
was
we
very
to
silly
now?
of me because it was a collaborative level. And so I decided I was going to, take a step back, and then it completely stalled. And I think it was a month or two later, or maybe longer, several months, I came back to it and said, okay, what state is it
What's
in?
that?
Why is nothing being done? And
Mushroom
there were a bunch
soup
of
is
areas that I
surprisingly
decided I was
good.
going to put together. And I think at that point your level was unfinished. You'd posted it but hadn't actually finished it yet.
Yeah.
Or your
Did I
section.
go like out to the entrance?
And I got the impression that you'd
And then
stopped
up?
working on it. So I kind of assumed that if your bit was going to get finished, someone else would have to finish
Yeah,
it for you,
primo
which is why I
mushroom.
added all that stuff to it. And then you popped back in and
For
said,
me,
actually,
anyway.
I'm still working on this, and I felt really bad for editing your bit, but I'm glad you liked what I changed.
Ix, which section is yours in Hooray Fun Time?
That sounds like something
Talps,
out
I know
of
which one you
one-
did.
Dragon
One with
Myth.
the pine style set, and then you have this cave with spikes you have to fall down into. I guess I have a thing for huge caves where you fall down and there are like
No.
sections without an umbrella or with umbrella. I think there are many in my levels where you have to do that. You fall down and avoid spikes like this. I don't know. I think I just like it too much. I have dream often about falling down.
Falling
and,
through spikes.
like, holes like
Marcel, are you alright?
Maybe that's why.
I really
But
enjoyed your
any-
section. I think you did something really good.
And I really liked.
Yeah,
your
where is
additions.
Purple Switch?
And I think I
That's a
don't know how.
relief.
You mentioned how you like to expand the world by
Give me a
making those
direction.
inaccessible sections that look like you can access them, but not really.
Hmm.
And there's a ton of
Probably up here.
stuff like that in this section. And I don't know who started it, but because I know
I ran over it
did
3
something like
times. Left.
there's this cute section where you can see Junie falling down with her umbrella.
Yeah, that's really cool.
That really, I think, expands the level. And there's a section where you can see a way pathway to the left, but there's an enemy there, so you cannot access
Tortilla
it.
soup? What?
A ton of cool stuff. Like
Those
that. And there's the umbrella you cannot get. And
Mm.
I think you
What, is
put-
it in
you put
here,
a
actually?
sign there. Yeah,
I'm
there's
just
this
cheating
whole
all the time now.
thing. And when I first
I wasn't sure if I'd gone too far there, to be honest, adding so much. I don't know if you...
That's a weird hollow. Wait,
I don't know
No,
what you
where
thought of
am
that.
I?
yeah, that was a lot, but I picked that idea up because you kind of made this cave about being a hero
Randomizing
and
with
all
darkness filters
And then
is not a good
that. When I
idea.
had to write
So
my dialogue,
so much.
uh,
What, this one?
I kind of ran with this idea that my character is obsessed with
And now I go up.
heroism.
Okay.
and
I forgot this
Yeah,
part
so-
entirely. I thought there were just 2 switches.
this
I
is-
think you called it the Cave of Heroes, I believe. And then
My bad.
Maybe I'm wrong.
I don't even remember who did what.
I feel like you called it the Cave of Heroes, and I added that the signs, building on that as a joke, and I wasn't sure if I should have done it or not.
It was great. It was an unexpected join.
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Wait,
Oh,
this
yeah.
way.
It's a really nice little section. I love the tiles. It's the pine tiles. It is great. I've never seen it utilized like this.
Pine tile set is so great. I've used it in both my levels. I just wanted to throw that in there. Not
Oh, there's
not
umbrella.
relevant.
I want to say it's one of the areas I'm most proud of But you know, at this
Pine
point,
tile set.
I'm not sure how much of it was mine and how much Talps did it, added to it. But anyway, it's
You know,
really great.
I'd say that almost everything I put in was building on what you'd done and kind of, I don't know to what extent copying your style or just trying to imitate what you'd already made. So I'd say that it's your ideas, even if I copied them, to make it a little bit longer. The village I added in, just I think partly because I felt like at the start we'd had this idea that the story would be about
Get
LP Chip trying to tell
Talps.
everyone about his achievement of his 100 stars, and nothing like that happened for a little while in the level, and I thought I wanted to bring that back, so that's why I added the village and the girl talking about the stars and how beautiful they are.
I don't remember this part at all.
Yeah, I just wanted to recall that theme in it.
Fun times.
Where is it? So hold on. It must be before VG's part, right? So before Straight Flames part. Isn't the first part? First part, which you like revisit at the end. Then there's Fubaka's part. What does Fubaka's part lead to?
Times. Very fun times.
That's a quote right there.
So now I think
This must be the most
we're
random
approaching
chat
the
message I've
section
seen.
Where we like to talk about your favorite KS levels of all time.
Oh boy.
Or yeah. So do you have any that come to mind?
I've got a lot that I really like. My absolute favourite level
Firecat's Shadowy Alley?
is Paradise Last. And I'm going to double check who it's by.
By Billigal Noober or something like that. Paradise Live. Okay, wait. So first I'm gonna check Paradise. Oh wait, that's by Johnny? Wait, is this the level that I've been looking for? Oh my god, wait, is this... No, it's not. It's the one with the awful ice cave. This is your favorite level? No, it was a pretty good level. Definitely immersive. Like, I really got into it. I just thought there's this one long lost level that I played that I can't find. Okay, this sound. Or we're just going to this screen, I guess. Oh. And then LP Chip. I need to remind myself of what area you were talking about in this pine thing. That's Straight Flames section. So that's before. That's Marcel's. Wait, you did this together? Is that what you're saying? You didn't have your own area? Yeah, that's Fubaka's. Fubaka's into this shadowy Firecat, right? That was the fake paths, a little bit forgettable. And then, oh yeah, Ultijonia sections. That's the one? I mean, it's beautiful. Tile set for sure. What level is long lost? Well, I don't know. I wish I knew. It's like super open and very unique. It has a darkness area all the way right, and it has great music. And I cannot remember it.
Get this wrong and.
It's by Johnny.
Yeah,
Johnny. So I don't know what I was talking
Yeah,
about.
Paradise Last by Johnny.
That level reminds me the most of Dragon Myth, but I'm
Okay.
sure there
That's the beautiful VG
are more
screen.
inspirations maybe visible in other of your levels.
Why did
I can't remember when I
what?
played it in terms of my own designing.
Why did that happen?
I just of all the levels I've played, that's got my favorite story.
I
There's
was
so
looking
much,
forward to that screen.
depth to it. It's a really,
Yeah,
it's a
strange
real pleasure to
dream.
play and explore that story. It's and everything you see in the world.
All right, we
builds
still have
to the world building.
13
So
minutes and I
it's-
beat the level.
the
So
story
now
is
I
that-
actually want...
It's a post-apocalyptic world, and there are
you'll
a
see.
bunch of floating cities that people still live in. But one by one, these floating cities are falling to the ground, and now yours is the last one. And so this character called She Who Climbs Like Ivy is
Yes.
Oh, yeah, that's the
following her
name.
father's footsteps, because he was, I think, was the last person who made these cities or maintained them. So she goes looking for him to ask his help in saving the last city. But yeah, you go through wilderness areas, you go through an abandoned city, you find all these different creatures and species, and a bit like Knytt Underground, in that there is more. There's not just about Knitts. There's other creatures in there too, that you get to know and you get help with or hindered by. And it's just a big adventure with this kind of core plot that everything points to, that you're looking for your father, who is the only person who might be able to save the city.
I'm gonna make you love your level.
Yeah, I don't know why that story just really spoke to me and really carried me along with it. I was really excited.
Simpler levels randomize much better.
Really enjoyed that level.
Are there any
Yeah.
other levels? Oh, sorry.
That's really an unexpected pick,
The
gotta
thing I
say.
remember the most about this level is the tower section that got released as a separate level. That's what I played. I think it was designed by someone else. I guess.
Yeah, I think
the
so. And
Author, so it's completely different. I think it's interesting to see
What?
someone take that and put
What?
it into his level like that.
I will never
Instead of,
understand this.
it just
What
really
Marcel is talking
focusing.
about here. That level is so boring.
It's a great
So-
section.
What's great about it?
yeah,
It's
I
the
think they
worst.
designed that for him. And then the other.
It's the
person
worst part of the
said,
level,
"Hey,
and then they
first
make
level
it into the
because-"
only part, and somehow people like it.
think
I don't
That's
understand.
how I remember the story going. But yeah, that's a good section.
Okay, so
It's
how
not a
about
good
some
section.
Other levels
What's
that
wrong
come
with
to
you?
mind.
I would give a massive shout out to Harlow by Plural. Is a
Yeah.
brilliant little snippet of storytelling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For a story level or whatever atmosphere level, Harlow is incredible.
Harlow and the Tyranda's Queen. Shipwrecked by Ego Massive is one of the kind of early levels that
Classic.
really excited me, and I was really.
Yeah,
I think I
Shipwreck
beta
is
tested that one as
brilliant.
well, which is a real treat. Or maybe I've just played an earlier version of it. I can't remember now. But yeah, that's just level again with so much depth and complexity, and even for a short level, there's so much going on there, and it's just a real fun to play through and explore.
Very unfortunate
Teasy story
underwater
about
screen
you go to
this.
an island finding ghost pirates.
Sorry,
Acceleration.
When you said ghost pirates.
Oh,
I just-
skeleton pirates. That's kind of what I love about Knytt stories.
Or wait,
that
is it
just lets
waterfalls
these
that
really
usually
basic
are
stories
here?
be told and expanded on and
Or
explored, and it's just a lot of
Something?
fun. Doing this all together. There are a lot of very beautiful levels made by Vegetal Jibber, who's
Yeah.
definitely one of my favorite.
Jibber can't
authors.
make a bad level.
What are your favorites by him?
That's hard because they're all just so good.
Tomatoes
I
too.
remember exploring the Golden Lamb was really good.
Oh yeah.
And he had one that was set in a crypt or something.
Yeah.
Curse of the Catacombs.
Curse Guy comes
Yeah.
really good, but
That was a really
too dark.
nice.
I mean, it's good
yeah,
Halloween level.
I think that was made with another of the community tile set project tile sets.
No, why did I stop?
And yeah,
Okay.
that was just a really well put
This
together.
challenge is boring. We'll move on. Are we
Have
going
you played
upward, right?
Forgotten Realms?
I think I tried. I think it was the one that was too big for me that I just kind of couldn't keep the attention for. It was just a bit too sprawling.
Talps says that something was too big.
It's the big open exploration ones that don't have a plot. They tend to lose my
Yeah.
interest, which
Yeah.
is very classic to what Niflas was making with the machine and Knytt itself. And but yeah, the playgrounds they
I guess I have to go up.
haven't always grabbed me so well, especially when
It's
you
gonna
expect
be
to
hard
explore areas
with
over
this
and over
water stuff.
I also just realised that when I was talking about I Chased the Moon earlier, I was calling it a creative level when I meant environmental. So sorry for that.
The only way to be creative is to be environmental.
Well, wait. Could you say that sentence again? I just got really distracted by looking through the level editor.
Wait,
I
there's
just
nothing here.
realised that when I mentioned I Chased the Moon earlier, when we talked about it, I was calling it creative
I don't
when
have
what
time.
I meant was environmental. I've clearly been playing too much Minecraft.
Well, gosh, I have no comment because I've never played Minecraft. But we're all allowed to make exceptions for our own levels.
Yeah. I meant environmental. It's the only environmental level I've made, so one with no enemies.
What am I supposed to do here?
And then one other level that
Oh,
I played
you go
a long
left.
time ago, and haven't replayed it for a long time, but I feel like mentioning it deserves a mention.
Yeah,
I remember
please
I really
do.
enjoyed it. It was Riku Island and the unfinished Return to Riku Island by Cody.
I haven't played
Oh,
Rico
yeah.
So well, 'cause it's been a long time, but I just remember they were brilliant.
Oh yeah.
If it's
Riku
any help,
Island is great.
I always think that the lost level is Pale
Let's see, and I
Limitation
think,
by
my
the healer,
last
or the
question-
healer by
my
Pale
last
Limitation.
question, I don't know if X has more questions, but so
Okay,
your
we're not going
levels
this
use the
way.
color black a lot, and I don't know. I just imagine England as being really gloomy and cloudy. So it's like, I don't know. Can you speak to this? Why are you so drawn to the color black?
I hadn't thought
Where do
about
I
that.
I'm getting
I
so
wouldn't say,
wrecked.
like, obviously there's the cliche in the British weather of it being awful all the time. I'm not sure that's
Oh.
kind of, really true. Our weather changes a lot. It changes an awful lot because of being, right on the edge of the Atlantic and having the Mediterranean and the Arctic.
I keep thinking
Having
that's a
unrestricted
sponsor.
kind of paths through the air.
I mean, yeah, it's on the spreadsheet.
I
Unless
would
it was
say
somehow
that's
lost.
I enjoy the darkness. I enjoy having areas set in darkness. I find it atmospheric, and obviously, black is the easiest way to conjure that.
That's
I'm not
you're
always
quite
very good
melancholic.
at,
I think. I think you
at
need
visualizing
to accept
something.
that.
Or visualizing the atmosphere I want to create. My imagination is probably more verbal, more audible than visual. And so maybe black is just the shortcut I go for to the simplest way of conjuring that of creating contrast between light and dark, between a background and a foreground as well, maybe.
No
Oh, totally.
saves randomly spawned.
X, do you have any other questions?
No.
Niet. Oh, here's something.
All right. Well, we've been at this for quite some time. So maybe we should conclude the interview for now.
No, I mean,
Or
I have one final question
go.
I was meaning to ask, which is simply, what are you up to nowadays?
So I think I said earlier, for the last couple of years, I've been DMing a Dungeons and Dragons game for my friends. It is coming up to 2 years for the same campaign, which is quite exciting. And that's been a lot of work.
Where do you go? Where's the rest of the level?
I do, I've still got Knytt stories in my mind. It's all the my Knytt stories files are still pinned in my on my computer screens. They're always there. And I think if I was going to work on another massive level again, it would be Eurydice, the remake.
Nah.
That's a
Well,
story
I
that's
can
still
say
running
no
in
to
my
that.
head, and I'd really like to get it made and shared.
People would love that.
But
How about a sequel or a prequel?
Yeah, but rather than a remake.
I don't think it would work so well with Eurydice. It's quite a self-contained myth. And there's
Yeah, but it would be an interesting challenge. Creative
what would
challenge.
be your story for a sequel or prequel of Eurydice?
Inside the
What would
arch
The
thing
sun
under
is
the
alive.
safe, like in the
you do?
beginning.
Son's alive, and what's his life now?
Prequel.
That would be cool. Yeah, I was going to say something about the story, but I won't. Of
course.
Big spoiler.
I love that this is from the
That could
Default
be interesting
thing.
to want to explore, like him as an adult or a young man, I guess. Kind of thinking about his experience, because presumably he has some memories of what happened to him.
I mean, the son could
Holy
the
shit,
story would
Father
revolve around his mother's
spring.
And he goes looking for her.
Yeah, something like that.
Ooh.
It's not something I thought about, but it could be interesting.
Cinda is up for that idea.
Yeah. I have thought of like sequels and stuff. There's a level idea I was working on once for basically set in the same world as Dragon Myth, where after the witch is killed by Junie, the witch in the west. I
Getting
think
rich,
it was Greta.
boys.
Witch Greta, one of the skeletons from her cave, is now trying to escape to the surface from that spiky lava cave that they were all in. He's trying to get to the surface now that he's no longer enslaved by her and find a way of getting his body back.
Good thing I have climbed.
I had an idea, and because I was going to base on Dragon Myth, I had a lot of screens and resources I could reuse, but I never pulled that one together. By the time I finished Dragon Myth, I think I was a bit tired of that setting.
I think Dragon Myth, I just wanted to add, first of all, the dragon tail is amazing, and second of all, the skeleton enemies in the witch's cave that run after you are just, I mean, they're top notch, but they're also just so funny. You just don't expect like a skeleton to start running after you. It's like, who is this?
I was really proud of those. That was a lot of fun to make those, and you know I think they look great. It was just like, I'm so grateful for Ego Massive's KS Plus because it just made that possible to create a theme like that. You know, those are all different enemies, and one of them is actually the purple spiky runner, and the others are all ninjas that don't really fit in the context of anything. Why are they killing ninjas in Knytt stories?
Do you have any idea what enemies normally here?
So being able to use those enemies,
there shouldn't be this sort of blocking.
They're all skeletons that are all, you know, controlled by the witch, was a really fun, a really great resource to have, a really great thing to be able to do. So yeah, thanks Tim.
Maybe we can just go over.
He's gonna get on this podcast if it's the last thing I do.
Whether he likes it or not.
Yeah.
Brilliant. I look forward to that one.
Oh yeah, he's amenable to a lot of, you know, he's I think he'll make it on here.
Yeah, Talps, you have.
So
nice
I
voice.
think that, you know, we've been talking
very
forever, so I think
standard default English voice.
Let's conclude the interview.
Well, thanks very much for having me. It's been really great to.
I was gonna say it reminded me of my time studying in Scotland, but not really.
It's been great to hear
that was
everything
more
and
Scottish.
get like some context for levels that, you know,
Surely
have
I can make
existed in a little bit of a vacuum. Not completely, but you know, like to hear someone describe it with their own voice is
what I was thinking.
Is awesome.
Yeah. It was great, you know, listening to the first two episodes and hearing you guys talk about what you've made as well. I realise I haven't played any of your levels, and I haven't yet either. I need to get on with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's only 2 of them, and neither of them are very long, so it's not going to take up too much of your life.
Oh, that's not the case
I realised
anymore.
I've actually downloaded them both. I just haven't installed them or played them.
Oh yeah, well, yeah, I don't need people to play my levels, but like definitely if you feel like that's a good use of your time, then go for it.
You know, hearing you guys talk about them made them sound really interesting, so I definitely want to give them a go.
Oh, cool. Great. So.
And then Thalanil is a great level. I really love Thalanil. It was a really fun level to play, and
this is a challenge. First, you gotta make him drop.
Oh yeah.
Why are you going so far now?
It was also, I loved the cats that were referenced to all the forum creators,
including Ix himself has a cat.
Yeah, I like to put it somewhere, like a cool hidden place.
Okay, I can't remember if I found that one. I liked that my cat was the evil one who was there in a screen with an enemy on it who would kill you while I was talking to the cat while you were talking to me.
It's a bait cat.
It's a bait cat. I am the bait creator. I'm here so that eventually you'll decide to play The Coming of the Dark and find out how many times it kills you with surprise deaths.
Yeah.
How tempting. All right, well, I think that's it for now.
All right, thank you very much.
Yeah, water turns
Goodbye.
glass tube.
I'll write you 2 a message
mode.
after we hang up to say my appreciation. But to those listening, thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed this journey.
This was wonderful. Another wall umbrella.
All right, goodbye, everyone.
So long.
See you.
Welcome to...
All right, that was the episode. As stated in the episode itself, really wonderful to hear the perspective of the man himself. That was very, very cool. Very nice. You know what I would love to see from you, Talps? I would love to see you make a fully abstract level. No structures, not even any caves or nothing. Just full abstract non-realism out of Mr. Talps. It's not your style, so maybe it's a terrible idea, but hey, I would love to see that. Not sure how that's in me. Yeah, I don't think you do. That's why you gotta challenge yourself. Right? Isn't that an interesting idea? Maybe we should add a no text caveat as well, but that's just my personal preference, I guess. Okay, I don't think we're gonna get to the cave part. That's really what I wanted to see, but no one knows. I forgot about this opening area, this sort of intro, which You know, I really spent a lot of time fine-tuning the randomizer to not have these blocked areas happening, which makes me very curious about what sort of enemies are here as default, because it's happening all over the place. Like, okay, maybe if there was a bouncer on the other side of this could happen. And it must be spawned right up there, not like on these two tiles down here. What is this? TNT with springs? What? Why is there so many enemies here? What's going on? Am I playing the right version of the randomizer? Maybe not. This just takes me back here. Alright, I'm lost. Maybe you'll try that someday. You will make an abstract level? I will allow that too. Just put random shapes around and boom, abstract. Well, pretty much. Although, no, it wouldn't be good abstract that way. Yeah, but yeah, that was Knytt Symposium Episode 3 featuring the man Talps. Really insightful, really interesting. Happy to have learned all these things. Hope you guys enjoyed it as well. Stay tuned for Episode 4. Coming, hopefully not in another 6 months, you know. When will I be on podcasts? Stay tuned.